Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Lots of Gravity, Mitch Kennedy, Original D-Rose, Rod, The Name's Burley, Twad Wazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Flat Earth Revolta, JMels24, Unimento, M, Iron26, Endless, Flat Earth Sage, Golden McKiernan, Retro Bill, More Books, Cannabear, Bogey, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Cannells, Banter, Will Brax, Mel B. Styles, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Matrix, Discord, and Google servers so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
The guy showed that whatever that new Samsung super zoom camera taking pictures of the moon or something, that it was using digital processing to improve the picture of the moon. It wasn't actually the capabilities of the camera itself that was taking those good quality pictures. They were heavy post-processing that was improving the clarity.
Hey, John.
And then the other one is they're showing pictures of some satellite out in space as it takes a picture of the Earth and the moon, but there's no stars. And we're like, oh, it's the exposure and stuff like that. And I said, really? Because my cheap little smartphone can take a picture of a full moon and get stars in the background, but the expensive cameras they put on these satellites can't do shit.
Where are these satellites anyway?
In the second law of thermodynamics violation called space.
Oh, okay, got it.
So they're not in the basement of a Hollywood studio?
Only if the Red Hot Chili Peppers are singing.
Cinco de Mayo Day.
Hey, 10th.
Hey, how you doing?
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Nathan, you got the post for today's video?
What, sorry?
The posting of today's video review from QE, I posted it just before you joined the show. I could post it again right after your alert for your show if you want.
Is it how we know Earth rotates?
Yeah. Yeah, he gave them all to me. So in the order he gave it, I'm giving it to you.
How we know Earth rotates. Interesting.
Is it because
they're going to try
sky?
I like to see how they're going to try to spin this one, Neil.
Are they gonna Witsit it?
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
I wonder if they're going to touch on the topic there, why there's no parallax motion captured in star trails.
Well, star trails can't even happen on their orbiting axial rotation Earth. They wouldn't even show it. It'd be smeared. If you bump your tripod for star trail photography, that's got to be there for about 2.5 to 3 hours, depending on the camera. It just shows up as a smear sideways in the circular star trails.
Sorry, Ted. What's happening with John? He can't unmute.
Well, no, I was just waiting for a chance for 10th wasn't speaking to try.
Oh, good. How you doing?
Good.
I didn't even hear you, John, till now.
What did you say, 10th?
I said I didn't even hear John till now.
Oh, okay.
Was he talking? Was he talking earlier?
No, I was having trouble talking.
How you feeling, Nathan?
Yeah, I'm all right. Thank you for asking. You 10th?
Sore after playing golf yesterday, which I had to take a week off of my injury, my pulled muscles, and yeah, I felt it yesterday, but about 70% of my game was there, and now I'm sore, so I took some ibuprofen this morning. Yeah, I'm going to send you a few pictures in Master D about the subject we were just covering right now. Hold on. One, two,
Okay.
here we go. All right, coming your way. Tell me what you got here. There we go. You see him?
Yes. With pictures of roads and stuff.
Yeah, just go to the first one.
Right now? You want to talk about it now?
Yeah. There's pre-show stuff.
Okay. It's on screen.
All right, so this first one, you see in the car, a camera is set, and the car is going at a certain speed, and all the lights are like star trails. I mean, they're just flashing and whizzing by them. But the inside of the car is in focus, as you can tell. Now, there's different videos or pictures like this as well that show a passenger working on their phone, and you could see a blur as they're moving, meaning the passenger and the arms. As you can see here, the mirror, the dashboard, the steering wheel is all in focus, but everything else has got a trail to it. For the next picture, you see the camera setup. I don't know if it's of this car, but this is what they probably did. So you can see how they, do the thing. All right, and go to the next picture. This is from an overpass, looking at overpasses. And you can see cars traveling in different directions, cars stopped with no trail to them because they're stopped in heavy traffic, buildings, light posts, all in focus because they're not moving. Only things that are moving have a trail. Next picture. This one, same thing, traffic. And then you see on the left side the guardrail and tall posts, all in focus, nothing moving there. Just the moving stuff is in trails, much like setting up your camera, pointing it to Polaris, and the moving things do this. Okay, not the tree in the foreground of your star trail photography. Next one. This is cool because now you got different directions. You've got a cross section of a street. You can see the bridge with the pillars is fine. You could see only the car movements, and cars are coming and silhouettes of cars and lights, but anything that's not moving doesn't leave a trail. What's a star trail look like? What's moving in the star trail? Anybody remember what they saw when they saw the star trails?
Stars.
Yeah, only the stars, not the tree, not the building next to the picture as the star trail photography was being taken. Just the stars were moving. Okay, well, that's an indication. Now, what if the Earth was orbiting 66,660 miles around the sun while the axial rotation is supposed to be the reason for the star trails? So then you got two movements. You got a big problem there. Plus, the solar system's moving with the sun, and the Milky Way galaxy is moving. So you got all these movements, but you get pictures just like the ones I showed you, where only one thing is moving, which are the moving things, not the things that aren't moving. So star trails impossible photography if you live on a spinning, orbiting Earth at 1,000 miles an hour at the equator, 66,000 plus around the sun, and all the other movements of the heavenlies. It's impossible.
Nice.
That technology like they use in laser ring gyros, where it only detects the rotational movement of the Earth and not the orbital movement.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that. They're fussy about which particular rotation they're going to pick up on cameras. They're quite fussy.
I'll get a star trail photo here from the internet so you can see.
Yeah, the star trails from the ISS are the most confusing photographs I've ever seen. How do you get the camera to be stable when you're traveling so fast?
Yeah, I have a whole series of those nonsense. All right, here we go. I'll do one more. All right. In fact, I'll do an ISS one just to show it. I'm still searching, that's why. ISS. All right, lovely. I love these ISS ones.
Yeah, it's like trying to take a star trails photograph while you're traveling on a high-speed bullet train.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Someone just put it there. Nice. One, two. Only two mine showed up here. All right, for some reason only two, but the ISS. Bradley put the one from the ISS one that I also grabbed. That's nice. So you see the
In the
ISS one?
meantime, B is a Buzz posted a picture from Rayleigh in Discord, and
Yeah,
he
that's the
titled
one.
this one, "This has to be the most impossible photo I've ever taken." And
Yeah,
it's in
that's
there if
the
anybody wants
same
to
one
take a
I
peek.
grabbed, but he got it there quicker than me, so cool.
Oh, okay.
But if you go to let's come back to this one. Go to the ones that are done on Earth. Do you see the one with the building that's lit up in the hillside?
Yep.
All right, look at this. This is Polaris right there. There's the motion of the star trails. There's the building. We're orbiting on Earth, right? And they can say, well, the camera's on Earth with the tripod, right? That's what they're going to say. So the camera's on Earth with the tripod, and it's orbiting. Well, then you couldn't get that circular one then. See, one discounts the other one. And then go to the next one. Now, if we go back to the car pictures, if the tripod that the camera was on, in the ones I showed earlier, then it'd be going a smearing direction of the way the car was going, or as you saw on the cross streets. So the cross street picture would be Earth orbiting one way, and then the star trail doing the other way, and you're supposed to grab a perfectly beautiful star trails without the sideways motion, but you're orbiting. You can't be moving the tripod and get the star trail circle whatsoever. So if the Earth is just axial rotation and stationary, and it's I'm sorry, just axial rotation, you might say, well, it could work then, perhaps, but I have to be standing at a certain place. But then you're not orbiting. If they want to carry it that far. But that one in the ISS, that's a killer. So you got the star trail, then you got Earth's rotation going sideways to it, as you can see. And then you got the ISS arm or part of the ISS in complete focus. So what do you got going on here? You've got something going 17,000 miles an hour with the camera attached to it. Let's just say that stays in focus. But then what's causing the Earth's lights to do what it's doing? Is that because the ISS is moving 17,000 miles an hour, or is that because the Earth is moving? And then why is the star trail sideways to that? It's an overlay to me.
I think that goes without saying, given it's claimed to be taken from a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum.
That's the biggest problem of all, right there.
Exactly. Thank you.
Well, would they believe that these videos are being captured from the equatorial plane?
No, they're supposed to be in space on the ISS one.
The IS what?
You saw the ones in the car. The camera's in the car is moving. Everything inside the car that's not moving stays focused. If that car made a right-hand turn while doing the photography, all those lights coming at them in the linear fashion would be smeared sideways. Car made a turn.
I'm glad to do these pre-shows, you know, obviously gets you all warmed up. Stops the being
What if it made a left?
Well, then it's seen Nancy Pelosi, of course.
What if it was affixed to a gyroscope that wasn't affected by the turn of the vehicle?
What if? What if it's on
What
a
if it's took
tripod
from
and
the-
you kick it?
No, you're not picking up what John's putting down, right? It's like yesterday. I actually trimmed that part out and got all the bits from the after show and compiled them together in this exact regard, right? What John's saying is, let's say you propose that you couldn't take it because the motion isn't correct. And they come back and say, actually, we have got a £5 million gimbal that's specifically designed to blah, 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 blah. Therefore, these pictures are real. So what you're actually doing is arguing about whether or not a gimbal in Narnia would achieve this end result. I assume that's where you were going with that, John. Maybe I was completely off the mark with that. I don't know. I'm assuming.
Yeah, that was the next start to it.
That was a good summary.
Bloody good,
That's why
considering he had made his point yet. Sorry, John. Sometimes I do that too soon.
Yeah, but that's a good summary. That was a good point from John, because that's what you guys say all the time. Excuse me, cut them off at the knees, because if you stay in the begging the question, they'll just make up something else and then make up something else, and you just stay there. Circular.
I've got a new members only video called From Earth to the Moon with frickin' laser beams. But check it out.
When did you post it?
About an hour ago.
Okay. How long is it?
You gotta be a member, Tent.
I'm a member in good standing. I just don't get all the fringe benefits.
I'll probably release it on Sunday.
See, there you go. I'll get it on Sunday. I'm one of the test group that has been put on a waiting list until the members get it, and then I get to give my response on Sunday.
Yeah, I'll watch it later.
Well, do you want me to give the entire apologetics without it sounding like I'm joking?
Yes.
Well, the gimbal would be affixed to motion with respect to the equatorial plane. So your readings would be the same as if you set it on Earth.
So it's supposed to keep its rigidity in space, right? This thing of yours?
Oh, beautiful. Oh, beautiful. You led him so well. He even said in space, fixed in space, right? So now we've got a little bit of convolution that's been added because fixed in
But
space
on the
for a
ground.
gyro.
But
Hold on, 10th. Fixed in space for a gyro. Okay, right. In a length, breadth, depth fashion with respect to a horizontal plane for the sake of argument. That's its fixed in space reference, right? But space is also a sky vacuum, isn't it? So now we've got a gyro in fixed space being talked about, where we can't actually attack by way of the angle of the second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum if we ever choose to. He can say, no, I'm talking about in fixed space, as in, fixed reference. Gyro, you know what gyro is, or a gimbal. Very clever.
Yeah, John's a clever guy, man.
well, I think what he's working on now that he's going to do a video on is going to be fantastic.
That's
The
very clever
latitude.
if you're a baller. Maybe you didn't pick up what I
Well,
was
it's
putting down.
not a dirty trick.
It is a dirty trick if that's what you were doing. Go ahead.
Well, it's not a dirty trick for them. They don't understand what they're doing, I don't think. It's just how they've been trained to respond.
But being
Maybe
fixed,
whoever come up with it, you could call it a dirty trick, but that's just how they've been, trained to respond.
sure, preemptively you're giving them this dirty trick of fixed in a Euclidean, would you say, or Cartesian reference frame. I'm just using a different term to space, meaning a sky vacuum.
I affixed it with respect to the equatorial plane.
Well, not if you were in a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum in an orbital motion, as per this picture. How can you fix it to the equatorial plane when that's at the centre of the curved bit at the bottom of this picture? That doesn't make any sense. What are you talking about?
Well, it would only be affixed with respect to it. It wouldn't be attached to it.
Wouldn't be attached to it, but would be fixed. How can you be fixed with no? How?
You can be affixed to the reference with a gimbal, right? But that doesn't mean you're attached to it.
Oh, I see. So if it's a really complicated £5 million gimbal, like I said earlier, then we're arguing about the gas lamping on it. I mean, the gimbal in the sky vacuum. I mean, in the fixed reference frame with respect to the equatorial plane. I mean, God, this has got confusing quickly. How very genius of you.
That was great. 1 million of the £5 million is just for that fixed part.
Well, that was a very expensive gyroscope that guy built for FE Core.
Yeah.
When they
didn't build it. They bought it.
Yeah, but somebody built it, trust me.
But before we go off this point, right, what John's demonstrating is that we have got to be ahead of their game, and therefore we know their game well enough to come up with better get-arounds for arguments that we put up against them. That's kind of what you've got to be in order to be good at debating, right? You've got to know their position inside out and back to front. And what John's just demonstrating is he's got a higher level of intellect for this issue, their issue, the ballers' issue with the sky vacuum. Well, if he was prepared to accept the cognitive dissonance and pain thereof, then he might be inclined to put that argument across if he was still a ball-believing muppet. Now, he's not. He's putting it across and going, well, hypothetically, if I was a baller still in cognitive dissonance and I wanted to find a get-around, I could juxtapose reference frames in... Is it Cartesian, which is the correct... I don't want to get it wrong. Would I say Cartesian? Would it be Euclidean? Say Euclidean, it's inferring...
About map.
Talking about gyroscope. If I don't say in fixed space, I want to say something to the effect of in a fixed Euclidean reference system. Something that doesn't use space. What would be the correct term, Adam? Hello, by the way.
Fine. A fixed Euclidean way of describing its behavior within a Euclidean system, which is three-dimensional, isn't it?
It's the same type of reasoning.
I mean, Arwen, right? If we could try to assert what happens at 8 miles, surely we can just assume what happens with that at 4,000 miles, right? That's cool, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that checks out. Right, Nathan?
What evidence do they
No.
give? What evidence do they give for this core? Is it something to do with P waves?
Primary and secondary waves require a flat Earth. Take it away, John.
Yeah, the return angle for your signal will require a baseline that must be flat.
Any
I'm
evidence?
sticking with my 8 mile radius.
Well, any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
If you want to stick with your 8 miles, and you've got your guesses of what would be down at 8 miles before you've gone to 8 miles, then you go to 8 miles and you find your guesses were incompatible with what you guessed, would it be reasonable to let you keep on extrapolating down to 3,700 miles?
Hold
Absolutely.
on, let
That
me
would
just
make
break
my
down what you're
guesses at
asking.
what happens at 4,000 miles even better.
Hold on.
Globe logic, baby.
You're saying if I predict that I'm going to dig 8 miles and the first mile is going to be iron in soil, and the second mile is going to be titanium ore, and the third mile is going to be sand, and the fourth mile is going to be gold. Okay. Then I dig down through it, and it's all clay. So none of my predictions have padded out. You're saying, is it still reasonable to say, based on my predictions of what I was going to go through between the surface and the 8 miles that we reached, could I extrapolate out my predictions even though that the actual dig was wrong? I'm going to go, yes. I think it's perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, me
You
too,
bloody
because
ballers.
it got a little warmer, right? So that it doesn't matter what type of rock or whatever you're going to find during the dig. It only matters that it got a little warmer.
It only matters that it got warmer,
Right.
Adam.
You're
Oh,
on,
so
Arwen.
we weren't predicting temperature at this point. We were predicting what substance it was.
Exactly. Or
I
if
think
I
Arwen-
reiterate, hold on,
Yeah,
I
but
can
that's why
rephrase
it's
that.
such
Hold
a
on,
great straw man getaway.
hold on. I can just say exactly that. We weren't looking at temperature. We were looking at the rocks. Exactly. Just a different tone of voice, and that's like the answer, Adam, that you've given there.
Yeah,
Yeah, but Arwen
The point
is
is
wrong.
that they didn't find what they expected. So then retroactively, they decided they were actually just checking the temperature.
Exactly. Super exciting, Adam. Don't look at what they didn't find out. Look at what they did. You're very negative. Anyway, 60 people watching.
What you
Please share the
mean
show.
is form your hypothesis after you've done the experimentation.
You've got it. Just change the tone in your
Classic.
voice.
Yeah, but
Well-
Arwen needs to rephrase what he said. He can't say a little warmer. If he's drilling down, he's got to say a bit warmer.
You're paying their attention to the wrong person.
Fair
Pay more
enough.
attention to Adam. Yeah, and just rephrase what Adam says with a different intonation in your voice. Say again, Adam, but with a upward inflection.
We were We weren't looking at temperature, were we? We were looking at what the substance was. Oh, that
Exactly.
still didn't work.
Yeah, don't focus on what we didn't find out or what was wrong, you bloody negative Nelly. Focus on what we weren't originally looking at and found out about it getting warmer. There you go, Bob's your uncle. Everyone happy? Right, axial rotation of the Earth-based variety. Any evidence?
Yeah, the stars are rotating or something.
Earth-based variety. Axial rotation.
Yeah, but it's so easy to just imagine like the stars are standing still and we're rotating underneath it.
What's the claim?
Even though Black Swan doesn't
Black
matter.
Swan? That is the claim, right? The claim is that Earth is a non-inertial turning reference frame, turning underneath an inertial reference frame to induce an effect known as Coriolis. That effect is the effect of something in the inertial reference frame travelling in a straight, actual path, seeming to have a curved path because you rotate beneath it. That's what Coriolis is. You can demonstrate it by tossing a ball over the top of a roundabout. When you do, the person on the roundabout, watching the ball that actually moves straight, seem to curve because he's on a roundabout watching a ball turning beneath. That's Coriolis. Earth's claim to have that effect. That's Earth claims, Earth as a sphere claims to have Coriolis effect. And we don't observe that effect. Nothing's drifting. It'd have to if their claim's true. They say we've got Coriolis effect, therefore let's see things drifting at 15 degrees an hour. If they're not, then we haven't got that effect. The stars claim to be on a non-inertial turning reference frame, if that is what you are suggesting, making your claim for you. Then we, on a non-inertial turning reference frame, would experience other things drifting other than just the stars when we assume that it's us causing that motion. Well, if we're causing that motion, then that is the only claim of Coriolis effect. In other words, we are turning beneath the stars, making them seem to drift when they're not. They're actually moving straight. That's the claim. Well, then flight times would be reduced when travelling west. A flight from Charlotte, North Carolina, that normally takes 4.5 hours to get to Los Angeles, would only take an hour and a half because the guy on the ground looking up at the plane going, wow, check it out, that plane looks like it's curving. And guy next to him says, no, that's Earth turning underneath the plane at 15 degrees an hour, making it look like it's drifting, like the stars. Of course, that would have the unfortunate consequences of a shorter flight time that we don't experience, Arwin.
Oh, you're selling that all to me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I was just caught imagining how the stars are just standing still. We're rotating beneath it, so I didn't really listen.
Okay.
I have a slight problem with this.
Before you get into your slight problem, we're going to be covering this guy again. I hope we don't have too many of these because he's irritating. No offense to you, Martimer, but you are. Anyway, this video is called
You got a total
Bloody
of
hell,
7 of them. This is
Bloody
the
hell,
second one.
literally in the middle of a sentence. Yeah, well, this is called How We Know the Earth Rotates by What's that happened? By Martimer81. Or Martimer, however he says his name. In any event, like with always, please go to his channel and let him know on this video link that I'm putting in the live stream chat right now, at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, helping him in the algorithm, boosting him in YouTube searches. The idea being that should he actually respond to us pointing out whatever nonsensical garbage he's got in this video, I can assume that because I've seen one of his heliocentric based claims already in a former video, then he'd put a link to my video in that response. But yeah, it is entirely selfish motivations, but it doesn't alter the fact that this guy will indeed benefit algorithmically from you, the audience member, right now, going to his channel and letting him know, at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Also, a shout out to Godzilla37, who just gifted 5 memberships out. So thank you very much indeed. Really appreciate the support, Godzilla. And yeah, welcome to all of you just picked up those 3 memberships. Sorry, Ten.
Just for your clarification, this is from QE, his recommended videos to review. This is 2 out of 7 you're doing.
Oh, why, 7? I mean, we might get through this one. Let's see how we get on.
Flat earthers say there's no evidence that the Earth is a spinning ball. We've covered the
Nathan.
ballpark. Now, let's address.
Sorry, did someone want to cover the stereotyping fallacy straight off the bat? Go ahead, whoever that was.
No, you forgot I had a slight problem.
Oh, yeah, whatever. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. And being that the name of this video is how do we know the Earth is rotating? Maybe he will be able to respond to my slight problem. Earlier it was asserted that we are on a non-inertial spinning reference frame, and because of that situation, that's why we see the stars above our heads moving. Well, that's cool. It's a great story. But what happens when I get off the non-inertial spinning reference frame? Does that mean the things that are supposed to be spinning because I'm on it, does that mean they stop?
Yes. So, by example, on the roundabout, I know I'm answering something rhetorical, but I might as well just have it strapped straight onto the end of your question. In my example, you've got a guy in a roundabout turning on the roundabout, attached to the spinning roundabout. Two people not on the roundabout are tossing a ball over the top of it back and forth in a straight line. From the position of the guy on the non-inertial turning reference frame, the roundabout, the ball seems to curve. Not because it actually curves, but because he's on a roundabout watching a ball moving straight seem to curve. Now, if he leaves the roundabout, that would be, say, if you've got a drone on the roundabout and the guy is holding the drone, pointing the camera on the drone at the ball as it's tossed over the top of the roundabout, he and the drone are on, then both of them, the drone and him, will see the ball seem to curve. However, if the launch then occurs of the drone, and the drone is then essentially in the inertial reference frame along with the ball, then the ball will travel in a straight line from the hovering drone because it's no longer spinning beneath the ball. So yes, it would stop seeming to drift if you left the non-inertial turning reference frame, in answer to your question, Chocolate.
Okay, I see. So maybe this Glober will respond to that and show us exactly where we went wrong. Because as far as I'm concerned, if we're on a non-inertial spinning reference frame and the stars above our heads are spinning because of that, well, when I get off the non-inertial spinning reference frame, those things should stop spinning. And the ground that I was just on that is spinning should start spinning.
Yeah.
So
like
maybe we can get to that.
Well, yeah, like the Charlotte to Los Angeles flight, right? North Carolina to Los Angeles. That's you leaving a non-inertial turning reference frame and the ground continuing to turn underneath. Well, that's going to shorten your flight when travelling west, isn't it? The ground's coming towards you, if that's true. Well, likewise, if you're in the same way as my example with the guy holding a drone watching a ball seem to curve, if you launch a drone off a ground that's turning, if Earth's claimed to be turning, then what would happen? Well, the ground would continue to move underneath the drone, and the stars would stop spinning. Exactly the same as it would on the roundabout. Well, that doesn't happen either. You don't launch a drone on the equator and watch it spin away from you 1,000 miles an hour. That doesn't happen. It says exactly where it is when you launch it. But for the wind, it's just exactly where it is. Right, okay, so it's not drifting away 1,000 miles an hour then. For you to say, oh no, it's just hovering, it's me turning underneath, that's Coriolis effect. Nobody ever observes that. We don't have Earth-based Coriolis effect. Coriolis effect is real, but Earth-based Coriolis effect doesn't happen.
Wait, did you say wind?
We.
Did you say wind?
Yeah, but for the wind, if you launch a drone and there's a heavy wind, if you've got a hurricane going past you, it's not going to hover, is it? Let's be honest.
Oh, hold on. Wind, that would be air moving in any and all directions, right?
I'm going to go with no.
No.
No?
No, I'm going to go with it's
wind?
all attached, Velcro to Earth, moving in the same direction, negating... No, I'm only joking.
You know where I was going.
No, you go ahead. I haven't got there. You go ahead.
Tornadoes moving in straight lines?
Well,
Chocolate's
no, I
nearly
mean,
there. Go ahead,
the problem with wind is that the response to this is, that I've heard at times is that the air and the ground are moving together. But the word wind which in its definition kind of seems to debunk that. So I don't know. This is a hell of a thing here.
From a meteorological point of view, if the air and the ground was rotating on a ball at the same rate, that would be called no wind, because they're in lockstep.
Right. Which is why I had such a problem with the word wind when Nathan said it.
The trouble with doing that is obviously you end up losing a reference frame and therefore are no longer able to define it as Coriolis.
It's also a first law of thermodynamics violation. So if you're going to suggest that unbonded, elastic colliding, if that's the correct term, colliding with elastic collisions, that's better, gas is actually moving at the same velocity as the ground beneath it, then a gas particle, which is actually moving at high speeds in all directions, as has already been pointed out, has to track with the speed of the ground at ever increasing velocities, because as you increase the altitude of the gas particle claimed to be in lockstep with the Earth, when negating the Coriolis effect and defeating the claim that the globe makes that we've got drift, that gas particle is going faster because it's going at a greater or increased circumferential rate. So as you increase its altitude, you're simultaneously increasing the radial value if you're claiming a presupposed sphere, therefore increasing the circumferential value that it travels along, therefore increasing the distance. Well, if you're increasing the distance and it remains in lockstep with the ground, it's increased its velocity. Ergo, a first law of thermodynamics violation.
Excuse me, Nathan. They have a term for that. It's called super rotation.
Sounds magical. It's also a first law of thermodynamics violation.
That's why you just put the word super in front of it. Checks out.
86 people watching. Please share the show. Massive thank you to all of you. Smash the show share button already. That's the only reason we got knocking on for 90 people watching. Go ahead, Dan.
No, I was going to say I could summarize Chocolate's point in the breeze, but he chose wind.
Look, we're going to lose the track of this video like a fart in a jacuzzi if we're not careful, so let's just carry on.
Address the spinning part. This is Florf Pratt. Flat Earth points refuted 1,000 times. To make sure you don't miss anything, remember to subscribe and hit the bell.
No, remember to click the link that went by in the live stream chat. Help him algorithmically by letting him know that at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me.
Here's how we know the Earth rotates.
It isn't rotating.
The sun, the moon, every star in the sky.
They're not the Earth.
All celestial objects appear to orbit the Earth in 20.
Appear, not actual. Apparent means not actual. So based on things that aren't the Earth apparently moving.
4 hours, in addition to their motions relative to each other, that is. Isn't that a pretty amazing coincidence? I'd say it's amazing enough to warrant an explanation.
What's going on with the black screen?
Here's one.
Why have we got no picture?
They don't.
Is it just me? What's going on here? Is it just edited in a whole section of black nothing? Oh, crap video.
It's the Earth that rotates once around its axis every 24 hours. What's interesting about this hypothesis is that...
A hypothesis? Suppositional statement establishing your presumed cause of an effect you've observed in nature. No, you've just begged the question, assumed that Earth's turning, and then stated that it's a hypothesis. You're mistaking a begging the question fallacy for a hypothesis. A hypothesis is a supposition of a cause and effect relationship. If it's a scientific prediction hypothesis, as opposed to a colloquial one, we'll assume and give you the benefit of the doubt. You just mean colloquially, right? Well, scientifically, you'd also have a null, the antithesis of your prediction. So if you're going to claim this as a scientific hypothesis, you'd have the statement, my begging the question, spin, it's the phenomena. And what are you going to do to actualize this hypothesis? Vary and manipulate Earth turn? Don't call things hypotheses when you don't know what it means.
That it makes predictions that are not...
Oh, predictions? Like a scientific prediction? He's just stealing valor. What a bloody outrage. I know why QE's made me cover these now. He wants my disdain. Bastard QE. How dare you, Martimer81, use words like predictions straight after the word hypothesis, when this is not a suppositional statement of cause and effect yet to be validated. It's not a hypothesis. It's greasing the skids of your just so story based on a begging the question that Earth turns. Whoever that was, go ahead. I'll try and get my composure.
Well, I was going to object to the idea of rotation on an axis without measuring a radial value. That seems a bit too far. Maybe we should measure a radius before we make such insane claims.
Yeah, damn right. You're going to need a radius to claim you've got axial rotation. And we've debunked it.
Made by the alternative, that the Earth is completely stationary and the universe revolves around it. Specifically, it...
But you think that the alternative is the antithesis of your begging the question fallacy? No, mate. You have a positive claim that it rotates, and it's going to be down to you to prove that. Not offer it up yet again, second video in a row with a false dichotomy. No. It's not like I have to prove we're not bloody moving at 1,000 miles an hour at the equator, when the equator is a derivation of a flat Earth elevation angle measurement. Doesn't infer any axis.
It means that the Earth acts as a non-inertial rotating frame of reference.
Oh, here we go. This guy's going to be covering Coriolis effect. How beautiful.
Is he? Or is he? I'm trying to see where he's going to go. Because is it going to be, if the Earth is a rotating ball, the stars will be seen to move through the night sky? We do see the stars move through the night sky, so we're a rotating ball. I'm wondering why he's going to use them in any formulation as
well,
incorrectly.
let's see if you're right, Adam. Right, Adam's been 2 for 2 so far, right? So let's see if he can make it 3 for 3 with this, because what Adam's essentially saying is he is going to affirm the consequent. I just don't know how yet, right, Adam?
That's the only thing I can see if he's doing that. Yeah.
Well, let's see.
And I just lost about half of you. Well,
really? We preemptively talked about reference frames before you even got here.
That's okay. I'll explain. In physics, we use coordinate systems to describe where and when events take place. A coordinate system has clearly defined axes and a clearly defined origin where the axes intersect. If I describe the same situation using a different coordinate system, events will no longer have the same coordinates. I'm describing the situation from a different frame of reference.
Not bad.
It's not that one is more correct than the other. They are simply different ways of describing the same thing.
Any disagreement so far?
Ish.
It's not strange.
No, ish. Go on, I'll have an ish.
He's not describing the same thing from different references. It depends what he's doing here. You have to be very careful, because this is the switcheroo that the ballers will try and do. Describe, get you on the aeroplane, and then talk about Coriolis.
Okay, well, let's cover that now. So, Coriolis effect is only observable from the non-inertial turning reference frame. The point that he thought he'd lose half his audience. I don't know about the audience you've got, but I'm pretty sure that everybody who's watching my audience, from my audience's perspective, knows exactly what's being talked about, because we talk about it frequently here. Non-inertial turning reference frame is the only way you can observe Coriolis effect. It cannot be observed from the inertial reference frame, the non-turning reference frame. In my example, the ball travels straight in the inertial reference frame. To see the effect of the ball seeming to curve, you must be turning beneath on the non-inertial turning reference frame. Let's just get that absolutely clear at this stage, because Adam's assuming, might be right, might not, we'll see.
I want to add to my guess.
Go on.
I want to add to my guess, because if he's going down this route, there's only one way it can go. We're going to retain tangential. We're going to have planes taking off at going backwards at 400 mile an hour, aren't we? We're going to have globiolis is what he's going to convert. Once he's described Coriolis, we're then going to have globiolis to justify Coriolis on a ball.
Strange at all. Just consider how you and another person can both agree on where a wall is. It's 1 meter left of you and 3 meters right of him. Both of you are equally correct, and you are in no way contradicting each other. You are describing the same thing from different points of view. If the coordinate system isn't accelerating, we call it an inertial frame of reference. Inertial frames are nice because they make physics very simple and straightforward. For example, if an object which is initially at rest starts to move in an inertial frame, I know it's because a force acted on the object.
Hold on. He's showing a rocket moving up. Now, if the globe claim of Coriolis is true, then Earth would be rotating underneath this at about 600 miles an hour. Why isn't
Yeah, and that's why they say.
Go on, John.
That's why they say there's a parabolic arc to the rocket as it disappears into the horizon.
Oh, really? They actually claimed that the rocket confirms that Earth turns underneath the rocket as a non-inertial turning reference. That's interesting.
This is why Newton's laws of motion apply in such frames.
Sorry, Newton's laws of motion that were not right? Maybe Richard Feynman's unfamiliar to you. The laws of motion of Newton were not right. End quote, Richard Feynman.
In fact, that's how inertial frames are defined in Newtonian physics. An inertial frame is a frame where the law of inertia applies. That is, an object will not accelerate unless acted upon by a force. But in a non-inertial frame, that's not the case. Let's say I define a frame that moves along with me. I go aboard a train, and there's a stationary pendulum hanging from the ceiling. When the train accelerates forward, the pendulum will swing toward the back of the train. In my frame, it appears that the pendulum started to swing even though no force acted on it. This is what makes it possible for me to...
Hold on. He said that the pendulum moves towards the back of the train. That it has started to swing.
know
Yeah,
that
the train's accelerating, and so is it. What's this?
Just flat out wrong. Can we ridicule him for a few seconds, or would that be untoward, Tenth?
He's trying to create a relativity way of viewing this, isn't it? By me being in the train, not noticing that I'm accelerating in the train, and therefore just thinking the pendulum's magically moving backwards. He's forgetting and misconstruing it with the train traveling already at a constant speed. Then you're not going to do it. But at this point, everybody's feeling the acceleration. You, the train, the pendulum.
Right. The point of a non-inertial reference frame is that you and the reference frame are moving as one. So from your perspective, because you're sat on the frame of reference that's moving, in the case of my example, a roundabout, you are at one with the roundabout. Now, why is that called non-inertial? Okay, well, as you look down at your feet, to dumb it down, you aren't moving. You can sit perfectly still, right? No, well, you're on a roundabout moving. Now, the effect that's being induced is being described as a curve that is apparent. In other words, you are going to see the ball curve. That is an apparent effect. It does appear to curve, but only because, as far as you are concerned, you aren't the one moving. It's the ball curving. You're seeing an effect of the ball taking a curved path because you've considered your position as non-inertial on a moving roundabout in that example. The ball, on the other hand, is described as travelling through the inertial reference frame. Go ahead, Adam.
I'm just not sure what he's doing, why he's convoluting. If we're on the roundabout and we're moving, we are constantly accelerating because our motion is circular. So technically, it's always an acceleration described as a force. But if we're on that straight train going in a constant distance, then you're going to invoke relativity, I assume. I'm not sure what the analogy of the train is with Coriolis.
I can make a Coriolis. I can make a not actual drift occur in this example. I'm not going to do it for him. We'll see where he's going to go. But I mean, I can extrapolate out a not actual deflection from a train easily. I'm not going to.
Train has accelerated, and my reference frame is now non-inertial. In order to make Newton's laws work on board the train, I have to modify them. The net acceleration of the pendulum is supposed to be the total force on the pendulum divided by its mass, but the total force is zero.
So why are we describing these forces when the effect is not actual in Coriolis effect?
So instead, we have to attack
that's what I'm trying to say. I don't understand why we're applying a force to a train when Coriolis effect is a not actual.
Yeah.
There's no force in terms of the curve that's being observed. There's no force creating that curve. It's you on the turning reference frame with an optical illusion.
Yeah. He's describing force. Hold on. We'll just summarize that for Adam's absolutely bang on. That's where he is going. So he's going to juxtapose an actual force with an illusionary effect. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Adam's called it already.
What
Go.
about
And then he's gonna switcheroo that, as Chocolate says, to Globiolis. This is what he's building the
Yep.
skids for, isn't it? Yeah.
Okay. I just shout out Godzilla. He says, hi, Skeptic. Thanks for the super chat, Godzilla. Go ahead, John. Or was it John that was first? Also, Skeptic936 says, GTSY, Godzilla. Thank you very much for the super chats, lads. Good timing. Whoever was trying to get in there first, was it Chocolate?
Just real quick, just to
Go ahead.
add to what Adam said, I think it's the okie doke. He's already putting you on something that's you already know is moving. Now he's going to try to relate that to reality, to try to extrapolate that it's the Earth that's moving, and
Good catch.
because of those reasons that we don't feel it on the train, we don't feel it on the Earth.
Good catch.
It's okie doke.
Yeah, so what Chocolate's saying is, by his example, he's leading you into the assumption that it's a correlatable comparison with Earth, therefore automatically assuming that Earth is comparable to something that is being described as moving. So he's, in a way, quite craftily begging the question, is what Chocolate's pointing out, by giving this example. He then automatically has you, the audience member, assume that the example's transposable to an automatically assumed to be turning Earth. Correct, Chocolate?
Yes, sir.
Was there anybody else?
I would
Was it John?
also, I would also go to the point saying it would be slightly of a false equivalence, because he's putting you in a train, which a moving train would be considered, I don't know, a closed system. The Earth isn't supposed to be that. Sorry for the noise.
Yeah, good point.
After John,
Yep, go ahead, John.
I was going to say it seemed like he just threw away Newton's laws, or he's stating that we're on plane. I would just like for him to clarify his position. Are you throwing away Newton's laws, or are you saying that we're on an inertial plane and Newton's laws apply? So
He's saying he's going to modify them, but he didn't go into detail. Go ahead, 10th. We'll see where that's going to. We'll put the pin in that as well. Go ahead, 10th.
This reminds me of the Foucault pendulum, the things they have in the malls and things. So that thing, the Earth is moving, causing that thing to move and hit things that fall down. That thing was stationed. Does someone have to start that thing first? And is there a mechanized motor in the access point of that Foucault pendulum demonstration? I mean, if it's just hanging and we're supposed to be moving, then it's just hanging, unless someone gives it a nudge first. But the Earth is supposed to be.
Yes, Tim. Somebody has to start it moving.
Okay, so then these tall, what do you call it? Ball crushing machines that knock down buildings. You can see them just with the tension of the ball just not moving at all until the operator starts the machinery. But it's supposed
like a wrecking ball.
I was just gonna say, like Nathan on the wrecking ball. Remember that?
Right, 100 people watching. Again, a massive thank you to all of you. Smash the share button. That's the only reason we've got 100 people watching. We don't get any love from YouTube. But hopefully, one of these crackheads that we cover will actually put a link to my video in their video when they respond and say, oh, no, I'm not relinquishing Newton's laws when I said I'm modifying them. So there's the link to his video. Go and smash it. Let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Try and leave a nice comment so it doesn't get deleted. Hopefully, as I say, he'll share the love in return. We shall see. Anyway, we'll carry on covering Martimer 81.
Well,
if you've just hellfire. If you've just joined us, we know the Earth. How we know the Earth rotates is the name of the video that we're covering. Go ahead, 10th.
I was just going to say, Adam's point should not be overlooked. He was saying that the guy gets you started on the train, but he's really trying to just suppose that as you're already accelerating at a certain speed. That was a key point. Because you know when the train is moving, when it starts.
Right, you definitely do know. Elvis Kavovic says, here's some money for baby Chino. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat. You know what actually happened, Elvis? Paul sent me a couple of faceplates for amplifiers that I've purchased. Very kind of him. Thank you very much. But he also put in the care package a load of coffee. Now, I'm fussy when it comes to coffee. He said, I'll have a try my coffee. I'll buy it in bulk. I was like, great, wonderful, free coffee. and it tasted the same as the coffee that we've gone through all sorts of different coffee beans to get to, me and my wife and I. Anyway, the point is that the fact that it tastes the same as something I'm quite fussy about means it's really good coffee. You know, in other words, anything less than what I'd already got used to would be horrible. It's just how it is. And it wasn't. It tasted basically the same as what I already have, and also buy in bulk. But there we go. I'm not going to let this turn into a coffee promotion. But thank you very much, Paul, if you're out there listening. Thank you for the coffee. Really appreciate it. I'm drinking it now. Not exactly drinking it now, but I am. Anyway, also shout out to Blue Ridge Ranger. He says, shout out Skeptic and Godzilla. Look, guys, if you want to keep giving me money to shout each other out in the super chat, I'm more than happy to keep reading them. And thank you so much for the support. Really do appreciate it. Woohoo! Over 110 people watching. Hopefully a few people have smashed that share button since I encouraged you to do so. We'll see.
Other direction. Because it clearly is accelerating, we multiply the acceleration by its mass and find that...
Another shout out to Godzilla37 says, hi, Blue. The good Blue. Thanks for all the super chats.
The total force is not zero, even though no force is at work. We say that a pseudo force,
oh wow, guys, you're ruining this now. But I'm not going to stop you. You're giving me money. What can I do? Thank you again to Skeptic936 who says, shout out Blue Ridge Ranger. You guys, great minds. Thank you very much for all the super chats. Really appreciate the support.
force of inertia is at work. Such forces are also called fictitious forces because they're not real forces. They only appear to function as forces because of how we choose to describe the situation from a non-inertial frame of reference. This raises an obvious question. Why would we ever describe physics from a non-inertial frame of reference if it means that we have to invent fake forces just to make the math come out?
Wow.
I mean, doesn't this...
Go on, Chocolate.
I'm kind of like, just wow. Like, he's literally saying, why would we have, or asking, why would we have to invent fake forces in order to explain what we're trying to say or assert on a non-inertial spinning reference frame? I don't know. It's funny to me.
Do you want the answer? There is a justifiable reason for it. I mean, he might be about to cover it though. That's why I didn't pipe it myself. He might just cover it. If he doesn't cover it the way I would cover it, then I'll obviously interject and correct him. Do you want me to cover it in advance?
No, let him.
Okay.
I just wanted to get a wow out because that was pretty. Because how many times have we been told that, oh, you know, we have all these forces, and it's just funny to hear somebody on their side just say, yeah, you know, it's a fictitious force, meaning it's a fake force we just made up depending on a reference frame. So it's not actually a force. It's just where you're looking and what your reference frame is. That's it. So
Yeah, we're halfway in though, Chuck. We're only halfway in. He's admitted why would we do this. I'm yet to hear why his explanation of why it's going to be done. So.
Okay, another couple of shout outs. So Skeptic936 shouts out Neil. Thank you very much, Skeptic936, for the super chat. Really appreciate it. So shout out Neil Constantino. I'll get his name right once, I promise. Also, another shout out to Elvis Kafovic. MNRA. Right. Who is that?
You ruined his name.
Constantino.
Costantino.
This morning, I added like 3 more syllables to
yeah,
it.
that did it brilliant. Constantino. I just did that
Cappuccino.
for humor. Baby Chino. Anyway, another shout out to Elvis Kafovic. It says, MNRA, make Nathan rich again. What's that mean? MNRA. Okay, thank you for the super chat. Okay, fine. Hi, Neil, says Godzilla37. Okay, keep giving me money to shout at the panel. We do an intro and say hello to them all, by the way. But, you know, don't let me put you off. 105 people watching. Please share the show. All right, let's do this.
prove that our description is objectively wrong? Well, ultimately what matters is that I correctly model the behavior of the pendulum so that I can make accurate predictions about it. If I'm describing a situation that takes place aboard a moving train, treating the train as stationary and adding fictitious forces will actually simplify the description and make it easier to make such predictions.
Give me a sec. Is he really going to use a Foucault pendulum as his proof after all this?
He's got a lot of stuff on the table, Adam. I don't know where this
He
is
has,
going.
hasn't
I'm
he?
looking forward to. I'm memorising it all. I'm going to pick this all apart. Don't worry.
You see, that's what he's setting this bit up for. Is applied forces to a Foucault pendulum to create the drift on the pendulum, isn't it?
All I see thus far, the problem so far, is that he's doing the bait and switch, or the old switcheroo, with the forces that are involved. Okay, now the forces are not actual when describing Coriolis. It's the not actual deflection observed in, for example, a ball tossed in a straight line over the top of a roundabout. The not actual force that makes the ball seem to drift is Coriolis force. Is it actual? No. It's an illusion. Well, you can describe these illusions as apparent forces, because you will, on the roundabout, see the ball curving. From your position, it's curving. There's no other way. It's apparent. It apparently curves. Now, is that the actual trajectory? No. It's an illusionary trajectory. But this guy is going to switcheroo between not actual forces and actual deflections. That's where he's going with this.
No, but he's on the train. He's applying a force to the train and the pendulum, and as that applied force happens, they both accelerate. You get the movement. Now he's going to make out that the pendulum's swimming because the train's left it behind. But so fundamentally, he's off to prove that the Earth rotates underneath the pendulum, which I'm going to be happy for him to come to that conclusion. But that then seems to be what he's going to prove. But I don't understand why he's using the train, because the train is applied force. With the Foucault pendulum, there's no applied force. The pendulum's moving in free space, yeah, unaffected, whilst the Earth rotates underneath.
Yeah, we know their claim, and we'll keep that in mind when we pull apart what nonsense he goes through in a second. But just let me shout out INFE. So shout out to the panel. Thanks for all you do. Thanks for all your work. Thank you for the super chat, INFE. Go ahead, Adam.
The distinction I'm making is that there's no force applied to the pendulum in this rotating Earth. But he's talking about forces applying to the pendulum on the train, which is my confusion. It just seems a false analogy.
I mean, why take the motion of the train into account when it affects both me, the passenger, and the pendulum equally? It just complicates the math for no good reason. Now, what the hell does this have to do with the rotation of the Earth? Simple. If the Earth is rotating, a point on its surface is not only in motion all the time, it also changes direction all the time, which means it's accelerating. Thus, if I'm standing on a rotating Earth describing physics with an origin fixed to a point on Earth, that reference frame will be non-inertial, and I can look for the effects of two pseudo-forces that appear in rotating frames: the centrifugal force and the Coriolis force. But wait, before we do that, let's address the Flurf claim that we...
What? Why is there any claim here from a Flurf? There's no claim to be had. Oh, my bad. He's obviously going to set up a false dichotomy. Par for the course of this dude. So here's the Flurf example. Sorry, where on earth would you get the impression that we have some sort of claim? Oh, forgetting me. Obviously, you need to set up this false dichotomy so you can tell me my reference frames are ruined, right?
We should feel 1,000 miles per hour.
We should feel 1,000 miles an hour on a globe? That's a Flurf claim. A flat Earth claim is that we should feel 1,000 miles an hour velocity. Bonehead. Do you not understand your own bloody claim? You claim 1,000 miles an hour velocity, but you're now going to take apart some false dichotomy about our Flurfs claim we got 1,000 miles an hour anything. No, dickhead. This is definitely not a Flurf claim. Go ahead.
He doesn't claim 1,000 miles an hour velocity. He claims 1,000 miles an hour acceleration. He just said that.
He did. We'll peg these things
So
down.
you would feel that.
They're useful admissions. Go ahead, John. Sorry.
You would feel 1,000 miles an hour acceleration.
Damn Skippy.
You would feel. without doubt.
Shout out to DJ One Deck. He says, I've got a short poem on Coriolis. We will get to that. Definitely One Deck. Thank you for the super chat. You didn't have to pay me to read out your poetry. It's a pleasure. But thank you for the super chat. Also, shout out to James Richard. He says, is not the train on Earth, ? So we feel it on the train, yet not on Earth, ? Yeah, that's what John just covered. Good timing, James Richard, with the super chat. Exactly. He's just disclaimed it's an accelerative force. Well, if we're accelerating, we're going to bloody notice. Do we? No, do we heck? Right? He's not doing too well. There we go.
Or winds hitting us.
He's trying to confuse velocity.
Go on, sorry.
Trying to confuse velocity and acceleration. Acceleration is a change in velocity. Just claimed we are changing in velocity on Earth. When the train takes off, feel that acceleration. The dudes are stupid.
I'm happy that he's making the claim of an acceleration here, and I will present some maths in a minute to rebut him, but let's just see what he presents first. Probably
stay tuned.
Why we don't feel this Coriolis, we don't feel this centrifugal force that he's describing would be applied to us on a spinning ball.
I can't believe we're getting to do this. Coming up on Flat Earth Debate, a Coriolis poem, and utilising the devastating claim that we are accelerating. Adam will take it apart with some maths. And for now, shout out to Elvis Kafovic. Wasn't that wonderful? It's like we got a proper show. Thank you very much for the super chat, Elvis. He says, isn't there some centrifugal force on the round ball that would interact with the ball when you're thrown? Just wondering. It's not relevant. The force is only ever describable from the non-inertial turning reference frame as an illusion. So when anybody gets into, no offence to you, Elvis Kafovic, the trajectory of the ball or the path of the ball, it's irrelevant to the effect that's described in Coriolis, because the effect is the not actual drift of the ball, only observable as you turn beneath. What the Globiolus utilises in this discussion will do is try to turn the effect into an effect describable from the projectile. Now, that may be where this guy's going. We're going to find out. Was there someone else who wanted to add one more thing?
Rotating one revolution every 24 hours, at least at the equator.
No, that's your begging the question fallacy, my friend. So your claim that this is a Flurf claim, total garbage.
The rotation of 360 degrees every 24 hours only applies at the equator. Is that what you just said?
I was thinking the same thing, Adam. Like, just at the equator? Really?
Those 27-hour days in New York.
Man, that explains it.
This claim obviously makes the assumption that the atmosphere isn't rotating along with the Earth. And
so no Coriolis effect capable then? So we're not going to see the effect. So it's just debunked Coriolis effect. Few problems with that. Before we just... Hold on. Mid-sentence. Before we get to the fact that Coriolis is two reference frames, and you've just claimed that Earth and atmosphere move as one, debunking the claim of Coriolis effect. Yeah? So snipers that shoot their bullets, you're saying that they don't have to track the target because Earth turns underneath the gunfire. All right, that's according to the Globe claim, something that's documented very extensively by the military in all their handbooks. But this dick has just completely contradicted what is claimed to be a military claim, easily documented. The Earth rotates underneath the bullet, travelling through the air. Now, obviously, if Earth did turn under gunfire, it would shorten flight times. But to get around the fact that Earth does not turn underneath to induce a Coriolis deflection, this guy's ultimate claim is going to be that Earth and atmosphere move as one. Number one, chocolate's already debunked, you dumbo. We've got multiple directions of surface winds. So no. Secondly, Adam's debunked you preemptively. Do you think unbonded gases are velcroed to the surface of the Earth? They're unbonded, you complete muppet. Do you not know how gas behaves? You complete thicko, Martimer. No, Unbonded gases don't bond themselves to a rotating non-inertial turning reference frame. You see, we can keep up, Mortimer, with your stupidity about gas behaviour. Lastly, Mortimer, and this one's from me, it's a first law of thermodynamics violation! You stupid clown! So not only does Earth and atmosphere moving as one violate the first law of thermodynamics, is debunked by multiple surface winds, and doesn't have bonded gas particles velcroed, yeah, it also debunks the very premise that you're going to get into next, which is Coriolis deflection. Separate reference frames. If they're all moving as one, you've only got one reference frame. Idiot. Let this idiot know.
Nathan, I think he said those are. I think he said.
Wonderful objection.
Hey, John, your mic's clipping something big time every time you speak, number one. Number two, Mortimer just snatched his own wig off for the first 5 minutes of his presentation. Anyone, everyone catch that? Hillbilly blue balls, are you fucking listening? Sorry.
That's right.
He just talked about that Newton's laws don't have anything to do without an inertial reference frame. If the Earth and atmosphere is spinning, or atmosphere paradox are spinning together, where's the fucking inertial reference frame? There
isn't
sunshine.
one. That's the idiot snatching his own wig off. There isn't one. There'll be no drift. There's no second reference frame. You stupid clown. Coriolis effect requires two reference frames. To claim that you have to track the target, like in the sniper's handbooks, because Earth's turning underneath the bullet. It's moving through the air in the handbook, and according to the claim, because we understand what Coriolis is, the handbook says that you've got to track your target a mile away, right? Lead it, because Earth's going to be turning underneath, separate to the unbonded gas. Stupid idiot. He doesn't understand what Coriolis is.
5 seconds.
Thick.
Just for because I think he makes the opposite claim that they are separate. So we're then going to get into special pleading. But I heard the opposite there. I think Refracted did.
Oh, that's no right. No worries. I can retract all of that disdain, take a nice deep breath, and go, oh, my bad. If he's saying that this perhaps is a flurf claim that they most certainly do rotate as one reference frame, then he's going to be claiming that they're separate, like Earth turning underneath gunfire in the sniper's handbook, which would shorten flight times. Because a flight travelling from Charlotte, North Carolina to Los Angeles would have Earth turning underneath it like Earth turns underneath gunfire if they're separate reference frames. So I can exercise my disdain either way, Adam. It doesn't really matter.
I'm not sure which way he's going, because that's what surprised me when he said it. I thought, well, how's he going to get out of that then? Because if he is actually trying to now maintain two reference frames, I don't know where it takes him for the consequences of those.
I don't mind either way.
Huh.
I can rip him apart regardless. If he says it's got two...
That bit we just used, you will have to use it probably in about 5 minutes anyway.
We'll see. So what you're saying is in 5 minutes, he'll just claim we have got two reference frames separate from one another in spite of the contradiction he's just laid out, debunking himself and snatching his own wig off and not understanding gas behaviour and violating the first law of thermodynamics. That.
Pretty much.
And ignoring multiple directions of surface winds.
Yes, and the second law of thermodynamics, Brownian motion, and all the other gas laws combined.
Yeah, just on that note, second law of thermodynamics would debunk this picture, because all of this is high pressure gas that's violating the first law of thermodynamics, tracking along with the surface, if that's his claim. But it would expand. It's called entropy. That's what gas does. It moves in high velocities at all directions, all vectors, to fill whatever volume it's got. See any gas law.
How can it be moving in all directions when it's, according to this numpty, is spinning in one direction? How can you move in all directions and at the same time move in only one direction?
The guy's fundamentally retarded.
Bias.
Thick. The guy's just stupid.
Since we can't feel those winds, we must conclude that if the Earth...
So did he just say because we can't feel winds? Hello? I'm pretty attuned to feeling when it's windy. Are you thick?
...is rotating, then the atmosphere is rotating with it. Done!
Sorry, no, definitely not.
Of course, in reality, the atmosphere formed along with the rest of the planet from a rotating cloud of material that collapsed due to gravity. Angular momentum is a conserved quantity, so
You see
why
how he had
would
to
it
go there? That's the brush over what he's just said. Can we go back 20 seconds to listen to his full description of what's going on before he goes into his, don't look over here, look over here. I'm now going to make a claim about creation.
rotating along with the Earth? And since we can't feel those winds, we must conclude that if the Earth is rotating, then the atmosphere is rotating with it. Done!
Wow,
of course,
there
in
you go.
reality,
So
the
that-
atmosphere
that's-
formed.
Sorry, can I just say I called it the right way? Because there was ambiguity, but I was right in my initial disdain. So I take back that he's going to be undoing the Coriolis effect in the sniper's handbooks, because he is actually claiming they're moving together, meaning there'd be no Coriolis effect to observe, and violating
an
first,
affirmative-
second, gas. First, go ahead.
Confirming the consequent, isn't it? Because
Yes, you were right.
We are
initially.
rotating at 1,000 miles an hour because we don't feel the 1,000 mile an hour effect of the wind. The wind must therefore be rotating 1,000 miles an hour with us. That's what that was his proof. See,
leaving us
because
with
we
no
don't feel 1,000
drift.
mile an hour
Hold on,
wind, yeah.
hold on. Leaving us with no drift to observe, no Coriolis effect to experience.
Correct, because it's now in lockstep. We've only got one frame of reference.
So, Mortimer, do you think that gas is Velcro to Earth? Oh, really? Oh, well, you don't understand how gas behaves, do you, Dumbo? Maybe you should concentrate on flushing toilets. Maybe that's a bit above your pay grade too. Sound familiar, Mortimer? You stupid glurf wanker. You don't understand how gas behaves. You think it's Velcro to Earth, moving in lockstep, violating the first and second law of thermodynamics, do you, Dumbo? Let me be the first to correct you, you stupid idiot. Not only does that violate the claim of Coriolis in the first instance, it's not how gas behaves. Yeah, did you need a flat earther to tell you that, glurf? Yeah, I can ad hom you too. The difference is I'm ad homing you as a direct consequence of your stupidity. Not just out of the blue because you don't like flat earthers.
Formed along with the rest of the planet from a rotating cloud of material that collapsed due to gravity. Angular momentum is a conserved quantity, so why would it not rotate along with the rest of the planet?
Because it's unbonded gas. That's why, you stupid clown. Unbonded gas is not bonded to a rotating roundabout. Are you stupid? Why would it not? Because it violates all gas laws. That's why.
No, he's now greasing the stage.
One at a time. God. Look, it's fun when it's me interrupting everyone.
Thank you.
No, he just snatched his own wing off again. He appealed to conservation of momentum.
Yeah.
Conservation of momentum is derived from Newton's third law. Where's the inertial reference frame, you retard?
He's only introduced that phrase during his creation phase of his collapsing gas cloud, but he's introduced it for the next part, which is to ensue globiolis. So we're now going to get retention of angular momentum and retention of tangential speed, bastardized form, so that we can get a differential in these retention speeds on different latitudes. This is, I think, where he's going straight full globiolis.
Perfect. Well, if he's going to go full globiolis at this point, I'll summarise what Coriolis actually is. Coriolis effect, or the Coriolis force, if you want to call it that, is the not actual deflection observed in a projectile travelling in a straight path in an inertial reference frame, observed by you, the observer, rotating on a non-inertial reference frame. I'll just say that again. The Coriolis force is the not actual curved path of a projectile moving through an inertial reference frame observed by you rotating beneath, seeing that projectile seem to curve. The seem to curve bit is Coriolis deflection. That's what Coriolis is. He's babbled for a solid 3 minutes on this. I can summarise it in about 30 seconds.
Planet. Now let's have a look at those pseudo forces. Let's start with the centrifugal force. You know this one. That's the one that causes your arms to be pushed out when you're spinning.
Why? None of these effects are going to be claimed to be observable on a turning Earth, so why are we detailing this? You claim to have Coriolis effect. Get to the point.
What's actually happening, with quotation marks around actually.
So in his earlier explanation with regards to circular motion, he's promoted that there is an acceleration felt. So he's installed that in his earlier chunks of information. But disjointed here. This is fun, by the way, because I really don't know which way he's going to finally go. It's good guessing.
It's generating good outrage too. Sorry to interrupt. I was just saying it's generating good outrage too. I've said that, don't like covering the same video over and over again, but a good choice 10th. A good choice 10th? Good choice, Quantum Eraser. Force habit. Okay, right. I just want to do another shout out to just calm down.
Holy shit.
Just calm down. I want to shout out, the numbers have dropped thanks to that. Was 112 people watching until about 10 seconds ago. Anyway, I want to keep that momentum going. Please share the show. The only reason we've got 110 people watching or just under is because there's people in the chat that consistently share the show. But the people who come because they've shared the show may not share the show. And you are the people I'm appealing to, the people who've got here recently and pushed us over 100. Please share the show. Smash that share button. The only reason
Do it now. Do it now.
Do it now. Right. Smash that share button right now. Let's see if we can get to 150 people. Let's start doing that like I did back in the day. Let's see if we can get the show. I'm going to stay alive. I'm enjoying this. This is good fun. Let's see if we can get to the 150 mark. Why not? If you can all smash that share button, there's no reason why we can't get you, your friends, your loved ones, your family, your lovers.
Since this explanation is no more correct than the alternative that we're trying to get to, is that your arms are trying to move in straight lines due to their inertia, but as you rotate, you force them to change direction with an inward force.
Who gives a crap? Coriolis is not actual deflection observed as you turn beneath.
A centripetal force. You experience this as your arms being pulled away from you by an outward pseudo-force.
Anybody feeling an outward pseudo-force pulling their arms outward on a turning Earth? No. Meanwhile, Globe Earth claims it's got Coriolis deflection. That's the deflection observed as you turn beneath things that are moving through an inertial reference frame. See how quickly I can summarise it? I can summarise it in between every one of his bullshit nonsense. Go on, whoever that was.
That's another okie doke. See, you remember how right before he started with this, he told us how our arms flinging outside of us, that's centrifugal force, right? That's what happens when we spin. So now he's going to tell us how that's not happening on the thing that he claims is spinning.
A centrifugal force.
Go on, Adam.
Oh, let him do this. I just want him to get to this point, and then I might address it. So,
just to confirm and clarify and summarise, carry on going playing the video. I want you to play the video. That's why you interrupted.
Please.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you.
Equal in magnitude to the centripetal force that an inertial observer would calculate. The magnitude of the centrifugal force increases not just with angular velocity, the square of it to be precise, but also with the radius of rotation. This means the centrifugal force due to the...
As there's been an interruption, it's the not actual deflection observed as you rotate beneath on a non-inertial turning reference frame. The deflection is of an item travelling straight through the inertial reference frame and is only observable if you're turning beneath an object travelling straight. Go ahead, Kiwi, was there a further objection? Because I'll summarise Coriolis effect every time we have to make this pause, just to point out that it's easy to summarise.
Yes, he stated an inertial observer. Where's the inertial observer at? You glue-sniffing numpty? You just took it away when you snatched your own wig off and then collapsed all of Newton's laws, which are debunked anyway. But according to you, that's what you're talking about, Newton's laws the whole time. Is he stupid or something?
Okay, I'll summarise that point too. That's excellent. I didn't catch that.
Listen.
Let me just summarise it. Excellent point, Kiwi. This is fun. So he's describing an inertial observer. He's just literally, in the last 2 minutes, described Earth and atmosphere moving as one. Therefore, that would be a non-inertial turning reference frame, as per his claim. So, where the hell's the inertial reference frame gone to have this inertial observer? He's just taken it away, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, good catch, Kiwi.
Yeah, listen, 1 second. From the physics department at Boston University. A good question to ask is, do Newton's laws apply all the time? In most cases, they do. But if we're trying to analyze motion in an accelerated reference frame while we're spinning around would be a good example, then Newton's laws are not valid. A reference frame in which Newton's laws are valid is known as an inertial reference frame. You doofus, glue sniffing numpty. He just he keeps snatching his own wig off.
Rotation.
Shout out to Hillbilly Blue Balls, the redneck retard. You listening to this clown? That's it.
He claimed that pseudo forces are actual causes of your arms flinging out.
Yes, he did.
He's an idiot.
Yes, he is.
Stronger the farther from its rotation.
Curious as to why we're getting this centrifugal centripetal description and how he's going to use it. Why he's bringing this one in.
It's a dizzy doofus deflection. He has no point. Or he's going to train wreck himself again.
Oh, that's what I don't. That's what I'm curious. That's why I want to let him hang himself.
He's already done that.
Rotational axis you get, and that means it's strongest at the equator. For the record, the formula is FCF equals m omega squared r, where...
Oh, God.
Yeah, it can't be strongest because it's a pseudo force. They don't have super strong measured in their strength pseudo forces. It's not actual.
Omega is the angular velocity in radians per second.
Convoluting here with centrifugal force.
Yep.
Yeah.
M is the mass and r is the radius in meters. Now,
mass.
I know Fleur.
You know, Fleur.
To you and me.
Go ahead. I ain't going to go there. Go ahead. What he does is this freaking pretender clown fraud. He just throws up equations that he found in some physics glossary, and he tries in a feeble, clumsy attempt to just flash it, but not describe what's going on. He does this constantly. By the way, I haven't watched this video. None of his videos. I haven't watched them. Just so you know. Thanks.
Right, so none of your videos you haven't watched, so you've watched all of them?
I haven't watched these videos.
Okay.
Earths don't believe in gravity, but they must acknowledge that an object falling freely on Earth, near its surface that is, will accelerate down at 1 g, that is.
Releases helium balloon.
We'll get to your gravity train wreck. It's coming up there, sunshine.
I'll just do it now.
They must acknowledge that an object falling freely on Earth,
oh my God,
near its surface that...
I know it takes a second to click what he's doing. He's now invoking a downward force to oppose the centrifugal force, yeah?
Yeah. Let's just debunk it, though. Because I want to hear his statement in full to then contradict it.
Meters. Now, I know Flurfs don't believe in gravity, but they must acknowledge that an object falling freely on Earth, near its surface that is, will accelerate down at 1 g, that is, 9...
Releases helium balloon, observes gas behavior, looks up at cloud. So when I released, because I'm a flurf, I acknowledged that helium balloon would go. That seems stupid. I mean, I released an object and it went up. So what you're saying is flurfers would acknowledge this complete ludicrous stupidity that isn't true that you've just stated. No, we've got more brains than you. Yeah, I notice things like clouds. I have held a helium balloon before. You understand, Dumbo? Do you know what a helium balloon is, you stupid clown? Because a helium balloon has just debunked your statement that you think flurfs should be acknowledging. Oh, everything goes down. No, you stupid dick. Further to that, this notion... Go on. Not going to get through a full rant today. I can feel it.
I said, I'm sorry. I was laughing. I was on. Just go. I'll go on mute.
It's okay. I'm having fun. I'm putting on my... I'm Should I have disclaimed that in the middle of a live show? That it's not all real? I'm not that angry? No, let's just not disclaim that now. You bastard! How dare you! Let's carry on.
0.8 meters per second squared. That's simply an empirical fact.
Releases helium balloon! An empirical fact is that when I release this object, which object is that? Helium balloon. It's going to go down at 9.8 meters per second per second. Is that an empirical fact, is it, Dumbo? Everybody say it with me. No, thick. You're very stupid. Yeah? Yeah, that balloon is not going down 9.8 meters per second squared. Yeah, neither are the clouds. Are the clouds falling where you are, Dumbo?
I know
Just to keep
Flurfs
it in the
tend to
natural
ignore.
world, do leaves fall at that rate?
No.
No.
Ouch.
What about stuff that, detaches itself from the bottom of, I don't know, the ocean, makes its way up to the surface? What about that? Is that going down 9.8 meters per second squared?
Or empirical facts when they don't like them, but I'm
Oh, well, we don't like them? Or we could debunk them with child's toys? Which one do you think it is? Do you think your empirical fact trumps our helium balloon, Dumbo? Do you think the clouds are falling down? Is the sky falling for you because you say it's an empirical fact that flat earthers just don't like? Maybe you don't like helium balloons. Maybe you're retarded. I'm pretty sure it's the latter. You're fundamentally thick, my friend. Yeah? Nothing's falling down at 9.8 meters per second, as far as I'm concerned. Most stuff's remaining neutral around where I am. It's not like this constant falling of everything. What the hell are you babbling about? I can give plenty of examples of stuff going up. So no, when you say empirical, I say thick shit. When this man says something's empirical, no, he's a liar. No, he's a retard. No, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Understand that he is just deceiving you based on his own stupidity. Things that he thinks are empirical are easy to just disprove on the spot. The freaking helium balloon.
pretty sure they agree with this
I
one.
mean,
Come.
I was just going to say that that's obviously why they tell you when there's a fire in your building or room to get higher, right? Because, everything just goes down. So smoke, no need to worry about that. Just get higher.
Yeah.
That's how that works.
That's
right?
what they did in my
reality.
school. You'd hear the bells go off and they'd shout, Spider-Man! And everyone would attach themselves to the ceiling because the smoke's falling down. It's empirical. Look, this is empirical stuff. This dick's getting up on the ceiling because the gas go down, go boom, boom. Right? Smoke fall. Empirical. Flurfers don't understand. Right? Stupid shit.
And Paul Skeletor.
Again, Quantum Eraser.
I told the sweetest Skeletor to stand tall, Skeletor, in that burning building.
Yeah. You do your Spider-Man impression because of your empirical knowledge that you disseminate into your audience. Yeah, be sure to let this guy know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Yeah? So he can enjoy us calling him stupid. Based on his empirical fact that gas go down, go boom, boom. Helium balloon go down, go boom, boom. Cloud go down, go boom, boom. Empirical facts that flat earthers don't like. Right? No, this is me. My name's Nathan Oakley, and I'm pointing at you and calling you a stupid shit. How's it feel? Yeah? Empirical? No. Thick.
You're not just calling him that. We're demonstrating with every stupid word out of his dipshit mouth. Contradictory wig snatcher.
I've got some advice for you, contradictory wig snatcher. Yeah, stick to cleaning toilets. Yeah? That's your pay grade. Yeah? Empirical, toilet flush when press chain. Yeah, that's what you can do. Yeah, that's your pay grade. You don't go around talking about how flat earthers don't understand empirically how smoke goes to the ground, because you'll end up killing people with your empirical nonsense that you don't understand and isn't empirical and is wrong. Understand, we are flat earthers. We are demonstrating, as QE has just correctly pointed out, how thick you are based on what you say and how wrong it is. You understand me, dickhead? Good. Yeah? Good.
It's also an empirical fact. This is only true in two significant figures. The real value varies between about 9.78 at the equator and 9.83 at the poles at sea level.
Really?
Yeah.
So if I go to the pole, my helium balloon go down at 9.83 meters per second squared? Really? No. What a retard.
Level. Since r, the distance to the axis, is 0 at the poles,
We debunked that. Black Swan.
the centrifugal force is 0 there. But at the equator, the distance is the Earth's equatorial radius.
That would be a flat Earth measurement.
Uh-oh.
Equatorial radius, that's a flat Earth description. You're going to need a flat Earth for that.
And the force is directed outward, that is, directly opposite the pole.
Why are you still talking about forces? Coriolis effect is an illusion. This dickhead doesn't know what he's talking about. He's claiming this description's somehow alluding to Coriolis effect. That's an illusion. Why is he still babbling on about forces?
Gravity. So one
Gravity. Oh, sorry. Timing is excellent. It's because of gravity. My bad. George Musa, 2019. Quote, gravity is not a force.
revolution every 24 hours in radians per second. Square that, multiply by the radius in meters. Bang.
We debunked the radius. Didn't you hear the first time? Black Swan. Was someone trying to get a word?
I think
Go, John, go.
we try to answer.
Holy shit.
110 people watching. 109 people
one
watching.
killer.
Hey, John, your mic's roboting something horribly.
Yeah, please share the show. I don't want this horrible audio to destroy the 110 people that we've got watching. I'm slowly crawling towards 150. Please smash 111 people watching. Please share the show. Thanks to all of you who shared already.
Bang, we get an outward acceleration of 0.04 meters per second squared. That's about what we'd expect. The last 100th is due to the Earth not being perfectly spherical. Looks like we found our centrifugal force. Score one for the Earth spinning. But of course we can't settle there. Let's look for the Coriolis force as well. When a
Laughing my head off here. This guy is so crazy. He avoids reality and thinks he lives in his equation right now.
Right from the furnace into the fucking inferno. There you go, Nathan.
Yeah, here it comes. Adam, you're going to be proven right in about 2 minutes, where I have to remember the timestamp I didn't take heed and write down. But yeah, this is where he's going to contradict himself and describe both non-inertial and turning reference frames in conjunction with inertial reference frames. He snatched his own wing off and told us we haven't got.
Body moves
I
inward.
just
on
want to
a
address on the bit he's just covered. I don't know why he's covered it. I've just been waiting for him to get to the end, so I'm lost. Because
Ooh, is this a presentation? Have I got time to make a coffee?
I can take my time.
Oh,
Yeah,
do please.
go on,
I'll make a coffee. That'll be brilliant. I mean, I'll be paying close attention to what you're saying and commenting when necessary.
I love I love your presentations. They're so informative. Yeah.
Notice how Nathan perks up when it's coffee.
Right, am I on screen?
Yes, you are.
Yes.
Okay. So this is just something we did ages ago. In the Feast of Nonsense times, when you're looking at the claims and what they're saying and you kind of think about them. So this was my carousel versus a ball earth, or roundabout, as we call them over here. So these are the arguments they're claiming. 15 degrees an hour, it's only one revolution. The force is small, so you won't feel it. And then the counter argument is that traveling at 1,000 miles, it's going to have some effect. So what's been described so far, presented by him, is this centrifugal force, that's the same formula he's been quoting. We can plug the numbers in, how big a carousel is, how big a ball earth is, and I'm just kind of comparing the two. So that's the effects of spinning on a carousel for a 50 kilogram person. Now, this is the same calculation for equatorial, a person on the equator. As he's described, that rotation when you're on the equator means the force applied is away from your feet up to the sky, supposedly. And that would theoretically oppose the downward effect of gravity, which is what his proof was to make that claim. And by suggesting that gravity now is different in different places on the and this is he only cited the poles and the equator, but it's not just those two. As you apply this, I won't go too much. You can backwork the maths and show how that's just me showing how what speed you'd have to go to feel the force on the equator. So if you back onto that roundabout, if you went at 0.415, that's the outward effect you'd be feeling supposedly on the equator. Now, the consequential point is this is on the equator, where the point of rotation is in direct opposition to the supposed force of gravity. That's not so the case as you ascend and descend through the latitudes. At the 45-degree latitude, for example, you're going to be, that point of rotation will be at 45 degrees to the orientation of the the tangential surface down to the point of rotation. So instead of having that force opposing you directly, it opposes you at 45. So technically, you could probably jump sideways better in the UK than you could in Ecuador. So that would be the point that, and forget the numbers, right? This is just a qualitative point. The gravity would be different. So this nonsense that you could sell gold at different prices in different places would be true if there was an opposing force to gravity that reduced it by this much. It's only 0.033%, but it's still significant enough, let's say, to be measurable, to be determined. And in the world of money, that would make a difference. So I just wanted to point out that it's a theoretical assumption, and all he did quote was the poles and the equator, which is easy to just brush over. But to ignore the implications, like I said, for the way in which the force would be opposed on a spinning ball is the point that makes nonsense of his argument. Hopefully, you've made a coffee.
Adam, did you say sideways in England would be easier than the Ecuador?
Sideways to jump.
Well, that would explain David Beckham.
Right, there's 101 people watching, 105 a second ago. I don't think it's any influence, not any, nothing to do with your presentation, Adam. I think it's because I stepped away for a minute. But we want to keep that momentum. 106, please keep the momentum going. Please smash the share button. We're doing an extended live show, mainly because I'm having a lot of fun. So this has been a really good show. I don't say that with every single show, but this has genuinely been a really good, fun show. And I want to keep that energy going. And it'd be nice if more people were watching. So yeah, if you haven't smashed the share button already, please do so now. It's just there. Smash it.
Rotating disk, its inertia causes it to keep its tangential velocity. But points farther in have lower tangential velocity, so this results in an increased angular velocity, causing the body to veer off in the direction of rotation. On Earth, which supposedly rotates eastwards, that is, counterclockwise as seen from above the North Pole, this means that objects moving away from the equator, that is, toward the rotational axis, will turn east.
Chocolate.
Yeah.
Got to pause it.
Yeah, he's going to.
There.
You can have the. Yeah, of course, you can have the glory because this is your moment. This is where you're right. Go ahead, Adam.
No, this is Chocolate's moment, isn't it? This is where we got. Was it? I'm not sure. It got admitting that hurricanes don't rotate. This is their cause for hurricanes, lot.
Oh wait, what? I had a coworker talking to me. I don't know what's going on for the past 2 minutes. What happened?
I think we're about to get to the claim, Chocolate, where you got somebody to admit that hurricanes move in straight lines. I think he's.
What? Awesome.
I think we're getting there. I don't know. This is fun, Nathan, because I genuinely don't know where this guy is going to finish his point. It's been a good one.
Well, he's saying objects moving away from the equator experience a not actual force.
Yeah.
It's really good, Mortimer. You numpty dipshit.
Similarly, objects moving toward the equator will turn west.
Describing actual deflection, isn't he?
What he's describing is air molecules that are traveling in lockstepedness at the equator, moving north. And as they do, their tangential speed differences mean they apply a movement to the side. So real forces now we're talking. This is not Coriolis.
That's what I
He's
just said.
applied
Isn't that what I just
retention
said?
of angular. Yeah. But the point he's just said is something going that's in lockstep. Remember that was his claim earlier. He's now heading north at a different speed to the non-lockstepedness stuff, creating a... It's not my claim, Q, it's his.
Is this what we observe? Well, before we answer that, let's go over some misconceptions about...
Is this what we observe? Surely if you've just spent a solid 4 minutes describing it, the answer should just be immediately, yeah, of course, that's what we observe and proves the Earth spinning. But before we get to whether or not my complete nonsensical garbage that snatches my own wig off is proving Earth spins or not, let's get to the false dichotomy of flat Earth. Yeah? Right? Is that what we're getting next?
What exactly we should expect. Flurfs have argued that if...
I knew it, called it.
If the Earth were rotating, it would be impossible.
Flurfs say, if Earth was rotating, again, thick. You think that flat Earthers start their claims with if Earth was rotating? You think that's a flat Earth claim? Again, Thicko doesn't understand his own bloody claims and starts putting up false dichotomies that have flat earthers describing how if Earth rotates. It's just stupid. You don't even have to build a false dichotomy.
Possible to play tennis. This shows that they don't understand how slow one revolution in 24 hours or 0.004 degrees.
He's gonna now conflate angular velocity and tangential speed, you utter retard. You would fail junior high intro to physics.
That's
Right.
what we call
Skeletor.
learns out for, wasn't it?
What he
That's
has
what
done, though,
Matt
let's be
came in
honest,
and lied about.
he's pulled out every single convoluted gaggle screw of Coriolis in the book.
Yep.
He has to. Listening to this guy, I see why you're so amused, right? Because listening to this guy is like the Coriolis, the rotation of the Earth is such a ridiculous argument that they have to go in every single direction just to confuse the people that believe in this crap. That's what you have to do. You got to debunk it. You got reference frames. You don't got reference frames. You got atmosphere moving with Earth. You don't got it. Every one of them go in every direction because this is the most ridiculous argument ever, besides it being a ball. That's my opinion.
Degrees per second is. Yes, the Coriolis force affects a tennis ball, but...
Wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong. 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 No, it's an illusion, you stupid boy. What makes you think that it affects anything when it's an illusion of something not actually happening? Ball travels straight and seems to curve as you turn beneath. You've just stated that this force affects the ball. No. What are you, Wolfie 6020? Are you completely retarded? You think what, you got to account for it in the plane? Yeah, you're just as dumb as Wolfie.
To simplify the math to the point where high school physics will suffice, we can calculate the upper limit of the expected deviation.
Right, there is no deviation. It's an illusion. You are stupid and don't understand Coriolis effect. Because it's an illusionary effect. It looks like it's curving, but doesn't actually curve. The effect is induced as you turn beneath. Oh, of course. You've got Earth and atmosphere moving as one reference frame, that is. Idiot.
In reality, the effect depends on the location, specifically the latitude.
Wrong, 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 wrong. I won't do it again. It doesn't affect anything in terms of location. It doesn't matter where you are on the roundabout. The ball's still travelling straight. You could move off the roundabout, on the roundabout, into the middle of the roundabout. The ball's still moving in the exact same trajectory every single time. It doesn't make any difference. The effect is an illusion you experience as you turn beneath something tossed over a roundabout. An effect that we do not see on Earth. Nothing's drifting.
And the orientation of the court. But The worst case scenario just happens to be the easiest one to calculate. The court has one end on either the north or south pole, and the ball's entire velocity vector points both north or south, depending, and also radially in or out. This makes the equation high school level simple. The Coriolis acceleration is 2 omega v, where v...
Sorry, Coriolis acceleration?
2 omega V sounds like a vitamin.
Sorry, it's a not actual deflection.
Yeah, it's really high school simple. There isn't any going on. But if there were, this is how you'd calculate it. Isn't that amazing?
We're calculating the force of the sight gag.
Is the velocity of the ball. A tennis ball served at, say, 60 meters per second will take 0.33 seconds to travel 20 meters. This gives a Coriolis acceleration of 2 omega v equals 8.73 millimeters per second squared. With
Coriolis acceleration. Whoa.
So,
is that non-actual acceleration?
Yeah, he's describing an actual force. He's thick. He doesn't understand that it's an illusion. He's just fundamentally retarded.
Yep.
Over.
Yeah, that's it. Doesn't understand what Coriolis
that's
is.
Funny, didn't he? I'm sorry, Nathan.
No,
Did he spend 5 minutes telling us all about fictitious forces and pseudo forces and fake forces that we have to make up? Literally, his quote.
Yep. Now he's describing
did he do
a
that
force.
at the beginning?
Yeah, he didn't need any of that because he doesn't understand what Coriolis is, and he's describing it as an actual force. So all of his.
Doesn't understand.
Go on.
No, I said yes. He doesn't understand what the Coriolis effect is, as usual.
Yep.
None of them do.
Can you mute Anthony, unless you had something to add? Thank you.
0.33 seconds results in a deviation of 0.5 millimeter.
No, it does not drift at all, ever. It's an illusion. You are so stupid. You've described how much it deflects when it's an illusion induced as you turn beneath something. I can't believe I'm hearing this.
I've got to defend it a bit, but it is, as we called earlier. So what he's doing is you're just transposing the rotation underneath into that, which is what that formula conversion does. It's a bit like what the ballers do when they do 7 over 6R. It's easier to bend the other thing. But fundamentally, if you can see the result, they've not, like in this maths, taken that we've got a rotating reference frame underneath and a ball just traveling. They've applied globiolis. So we've got sideways, tangential, and angular momentum retained. And it's that differential between one side of the court and the other. A bit like Neil deGrasse Tyson, yeah? The ball's going sideways as well as the court going sideways. But because of the location, the differential is that much little because it retains the angular momentum and sideways tangential speed in the maths. I mean, it is just, like we called earlier, globiolis now.
Yep. So he's describing
Nathan,
forces on the ball by way of the velocity increasing or decreasing depending on how you move north or south, as opposed to the illusion of a ball which travels straight, seeming to drift as you turn beneath. This is not Coriolis effect. He just doesn't know what Coriolis is.
Yeah, they're deflecting the Coriolis argument, apparently.
He's taking it out of Coriolis. Yeah, right. Coriolis, 2 reference frames, okay, and an illusionary force. This is globiolis. This is 1 reference frame with real forces in their world applied, tangential retention, force. As you take off from it, you retain that force and the angular momentum, which they misapply. But they're real forces that are supposedly applied to keep it in semi-lockstepedness with the rotating surface underneath. So they're still having 1 reference frame because the differential is not caused by 2 reference frames. It's caused by the differential of the 2 sideways movements, which takes them out of reference frame. eventually, but they start in the same one. It's only when you get a differential that it applies. So the one's got fictitious force and the other's got real forces to cause one causing an optical illusion and the other causing real drift.
That was an excellent
I have only
summary.
one question,
Hold on,
though,
just
if
give
I
me
may.
props. That was an excellent summary, Adam. Go ahead, Arwin.
Yeah, I have one question, though. How much non-actual force does the non-actual acceleration require in numerical value?
He's got an actual acceleration, and Coriolis are not actual deviation. So you're talking two different things. You've sandwiched them together to try and make this drag out, but I'm just going to pull it straight apart again.
Yeah, but what is the numerical value of the non-actual stuff?
You can describe the numerical value of the drift you will see, as in the apparent deflection is still apparent. You can, in Coriolis effect, calculate for the not actual deflection you will observe. It doesn't alter that in reality the ball doesn't change its trajectory other than it moving straight. It's moving from A to B in a straight path, and calculating how much you think it seems to move doesn't change its trajectory. His description has forces applied to the ball, therefore not Coriolis effect, an illusion. 120 people watching, fantastic. This is where we keep the momentum going. Please share the show. You're going to be one of the new people who's just joined, as I obviously get rumpus trying to encourage people to increase the numbers, as the panel are on fire today, but they're just a bit too keen to talk straight through the middle of me. Nevertheless, please share the show if you've not done so already. Massive thank you to all of you who have shared the show. That's the only reason we're edging up to 100 or hovering around 120 people watching. Go ahead, whoever that was.
Nathan.
Yes.
Nathan, we need to give a shout out to Mitchell from Australia, who showed that when he went to the museum and he was observing the Foucault pendulum, they had to put an out of service sticker on it because it wasn't drifting when they claim that it is the Earth turning that causes the apparent drift.
Brilliant.
Someone explain that because I'm just having a mouthful.
Out of service.
Out of service. Okay.
It's not serving the Coriolis
If it was-
deviation proof any longer.
If it was real, you'd never not have pendulums not drifting. They'd all drift always because they'd always be moving back and forth and have Earth as a non-inertial turning reference frame, creating an illusion of them moving around and about in a circular motion when they're not really. It's just Earth turning underneath the pendulum. That doesn't happen.
I wonder if the people that walked into the museum that day said, this pendulum is out of service? Does that mean the Earth's rotation is out of service today too?
No, just a globe model.
Just the globe
That's
model
its
was out of
title.
commission. Go on.
What globe model?
That's its title. Out of service.
It does make you wonder though, whether the employees that work in that museum ever questioned it. Like, unless someone points out to you that it doesn't move, it's supposed to move, you probably would never question it. But the minute somebody does, you have that like light bulb moment where you go, "Hang on a minute, isn't the Earth meant to be causing that thing to rotate?" And he'll say, "No, it's in the same place that it was this morning. It doesn't work, that thing." Or maybe it does work and it proves that the Earth's not turning.
Is it just
and you
me or
never
just
think
suddenly
about it.
got quiet? Maybe it's my device. Everybody else?
Again, D Rose.
By the way, good morning, everyone.
Hello, D Rose.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Good evening.
Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Can you hear us, D Rose? Someone else in Discord hear us? Is everything still okay in Discord? Can you hear us? Maybe a technical issue.
Well-
I'm going to round out this live show.
Hang on,
Yes,
the
we can hear you.
the
Hear
Earth
you in
stood
Discord.
still.
Yes.
Hold on,
Yeah,
for
we can
God's
hear you loud and
sake.
clear. We
Can
hear
you
you
not
loud
hear
and
me
clear.
trying to sort out an issue with Discord? Bloody hell. Whoever that was, thank you so much. Can you hear us in Discord? I had B with a buzz say yes, you could. It's just D Rose that needs to sort it out.
Yes,
right?
we can hear you loud and clear. Loud and clear, we can hear you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, D Rose, someone else in G+, someone else in Discord, can you let D Rose know he needs to drop and rejoin because he can't hear me and he's going to cause chaos. I'll put you on mute while someone tells him that. Okay, brilliant. Let's carry on. Go ahead, 10th. I'm sorry to be so rude.
Nothing. I was just commenting on what Anthony was saying Mitchell saw. It was the day the Earth stood still, like the movie.
Yeah, right.
Clearly, the Coriolis effect is not a problem for tennis. The effect is completely negligible, even given the worst case scenario.
Negligible? It should be 15 degrees an hour.
It's a little worse for snipers.
That's that word again.
Wait a minute. Is this
Well, it's
Roger?
there, but it's
sorry.
negligible.
I'm gonna write a
What is
letter.
that word always used for, Arwen? Anytime they have a claim that they can't actually substantiate, what's the word they use? Negligible.
Negligible or too big.
Negative. Negative. They
long.
use nominal.
Question: does Roger Feather account for Coriolis when he has a return serve?
Nominal means something else. Nominal means appearing in name only, I think.
Hold on a second. I play ball with my kids all the time. Once it leaves my hand, it should be, if Earth is turning, having a 15-degree-an-hour drift, whatever that is. I don't
50
see it.
It's 15 degrees an hour. It's not negligible. It's claimed to be 15 degrees an hour of the non-inertial turning reference frame. Beneath an inertial reference frame. It's a fixed value, 15 degrees an hour. Now it's negligible.
I don't see it.
No,
This
because
guy says it's negligible. He should learn his...
because we're getting flim-flammed.
Yeah, we are getting
We're
flim-flammed.
doing the wrong thing. Yes, it's 15 degrees an hour in Coriolis. We're no longer discussing Coriolis. Yeah, don't get it. We've been hokey-doked. We're now discussing Globiolis.
Worst case scenario, a sniper fires at a target standing at the North Pole from, say, a kilometer away, with a bullet that travels at, say, 800 meters per second.
If Earth was turning underneath, there'd be a 15 degrees an hour deviation that he'd have to cope with. He doesn't. He's now going to describe how that claimed 15 degrees an hour drift that he started off with the stars is now negligible. So just out of interest, is it a negligible deviation in the stars, or are they still doing a 15 degrees an hour deviation that we started with that's actually Coriolis effect that we clarified and you flim-flammed away from, detailing forces rather than illusions? Maybe you're thick. Maybe you don't understand that Coriolis is an illusion when you're describing actual forces and how they affect things, like tennis balls. You don't understand what an illusion is. You're stupid. Meanwhile, shout out to James Richard, who said, Globetards! The law of Coriolis force. Hilarious. Indeed. Please share the show.
It is kind of silly that he's first describing forces and all that, even though Coriolis deviation isn't that, and then says it's all negligible. Did he just conjure a story about supposed Earth spin and then just say, yeah, but it's negligible?
Yep.
Sounds like the entire globe model is just negligible.
Here's my proof that Earth turns. You won't really see it. It's negligible. That's what he's done. Yes. In essence.
He's not done that.
Yeah.
He's taken Coriolis description, then he's hokey-doked you into Globiolis. And what he's describing when you invoke Globiolis, which is the retention of tangential and angular momentum and speed, the effect is negligible. As demonstrated in the maths, it is very negligible, Globiolis, but that's not what's supposed to be happening on the Earth. We're supposed to have Coriolis.
Which we don't observe.
Right. So he did a briefcase switch then.
Yeah, with Globiolis. Yeah. But so because we don't observe something that is claimed to happen, Coriolis, he bait and switches this into Globiolis and describes how negligible it is. Oh, it's still happening, just negligible.
Sounds like the geometric horizon that we wouldn't expect to see. That's what it sounds like to me.
No, it's a huge amount to unpack. There's a good reason why we're edging up to a 2-hour live show on this, because it's Coriolis. There's always going to be a lot to unpack if someone's... I'll give him props, right? The fact that he's managed to convolute it this much takes some effort. I've got to give him that.
About twice the speed of sound. It takes 1.25 seconds for the bullet to reach the target, and it will deviate by 9 centimeters. That's something you'd have to compensate for if you want to be sure you get a kill shot.
So you'd have to compensate for if you're in an aeroplane. It would affect the flight times, wouldn't it? Yeah? So if the aeroplane behaves like this, then you're going to have to compensate for that. None of them do.
But still, the
Nathan.
effect...
You wouldn't have to compensate for something in the air just a few seconds. You would have to compensate for something that's in the air a few seconds, but not like 10, 14 hours. Come on.
Excuse me, did he give a distance of that kill shot? Did he say how far the bullet traveled, not the speed?
No. 1.25 seconds for the bullet to reach the target.
I'm playing it. You're talking through it.
Pole from, say, a kilometer away, with a bullet that travels at, say, 800 meters per second.
Okay. 1 kilometer away.
Do planes fly longer than 1 kilometer?
Yeah, they do, yeah.
Now, you see, they can. What QE? He's now invoking planes taking off at minus 400 miles an hour.
Okay, what Adam's pointing out and prompting QE to do is take us to the example that he's alluding to. The problem being, if you allude that Earth isn't a separate non-inertial turning reference frame, and in fact there's only one, and there's a differential in the speeds of the wind that's attached in lockstep, violating the first and second law of thermodynamics, then there's going to be a negligible amount of difference as you traverse the ground north on the single reference frame because of the forces applied with the varying rates of the wind that's in lockstep. Okay, that leaves you with a problem. As soon as you assert Globiolis, you leave yourself open to the quantum eraser backwards flight, which I'm not sure how much I should detail because I don't want to steal the thunder because it's worth it when it comes from QE. So I'll play a little bit more and we'll see if QE jumps in.
About twice the speed of sound. It takes 1.25 seconds for the bullet to reach the target, and it will deviate by 9 centimeters. That's something you'd have to compensate for if you want to be sure you get a kill shot. But still, the effect is so small that someone unaware of the effect would probably shrug it off as the sight being misaligned. Which, incidentally, is how one would compensate for the effect. Align the sight accordingly.
Oh. Look at that. So he just gave an excuse for why somebody would have to compensate for what did he call it? Line of sight? Is that what he said?
This dickless doofus. I just sat down and all I seen was a rifle. He's not getting into snipers now, is he?
He's just sat down. Let me just prompt him. No, Adam's just, or should I let Adam do it? I'll do it. He's about to launch into Globiolis effect and the consequences thereof being an aeroplane taking off and going backwards. That's where this is leading to. Just bear that in mind as I play out a little bit more. Whoever else, was that Chocolate that wanted to get something else in? No? Okay.
No, that was me.
That
was me. The sniper has a person next to him, and the person next to him is saying, you need to adjust for the wind. Well, if Earth and atmosphere is moving as one, what does he have to adjust for?
Right, got 126 people watching. That's like a new peak. So there's definitely people in the live stream chat that weren't here when I last shouted out you all to hit the share button and get more people watching. Let's see if we can get to 150 people. Be great if we could. Massive shout out to all of you who have shared the show already. Really, really, really appreciate it, especially as the numbers are going up.
Earths seem to think that the bullet should deviate by hundreds of meters or something like that.
No, it can't deviate. It's Coriolis effect. An illusion, it's never going to deviate if it's Coriolis effect. You just don't understand what Coriolis effect is. You don't need to relaunch into the fact that he's convoluted and bait and switched us into Globiolis. I think we've all got that from the audience's perspective. Shout out to Adam, who is absolutely ace.
I bet that man has never even touched a gun one time.
Who cares? Retro Bill, shout out for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. If they already knew the distance to the moon, okay, on topic, why take a journey and place retro reflectors? If you dropped acid, you're like 24 hours behind or something. You've been in your DeLorean again, Retro Bill. I'll just start again. Why not? If they already knew the distance to the moon, why take a journey and place retro reflectors whose only purpose is to determine distance? Retro Bill, I'm really sorry to do this to you, but that means you're now arguing about how the gas lamp works in Narnia. Because if I was to tell you that, oh, well, we are very, very keen to know about the gravitational Newtonian forces that are in place with the moon, because when measuring it, we found out that it's actually receding. It's moving away from us, Retro Bill. I mean, we can argue now about whether or not the moon's getting further away from us in a heliocentric orbital assumption, given your question. However, I really appreciate the support, so thanks for the super chat. But no, best to cut these things off at the knees. Let's not let them argue within the fallacy of a sky vacuum about why they'd go when they've already got the distance, because they then argue all day about how they've gone to get the distances that we now know are changing. It is very worthwhile work. Lots of people being paid to do this, Retro Bill, proving Earth's a sphere. Obviously not, but that's what they'll do with it. Use your begging the question to their advantage because you've done it on their behalf. But thanks again for the super chat. Really appreciate it.
Nathan, it seems like if you want more than 100, 150 people, you got to talk about these nonsensical things.
Oh, this is the reason there's 125 people watching right this second isn't because we're talking about these nonsensical things. It's because, number one, we're having a good show. We're all having fun. Yeah, we're talking over each other a bit, but that's because we're all keen and we're all friends here. We can get over it, right? But aside from that, it's a good show, and people are more inclined to share a good show. And I'm shouting out people to share it a lot because I want to share the love. When we're having somebody left in the comments, right, that they'd gone back to an old show and I seemed a lot happier. Well, I want to set that record straight. I love what I do, and it's days like this that take me to an extra level of ecstasy. It's a fantastic job that I do, and I want to share that. I want people to share in that, and that is literally directly connected to the share button. So smash it if you haven't done so already.
Sorry, I didn't mean this show. We're dealing with nonsense and we're setting it straight. Some people talk about nonsense things and have 300-400 people watching. So it seems to me that people just want to hear a bunch of nonsense. They don't want truth. That's all.
Oh, how bloody negative of you. So contrast to what I thought Neil was saying to keep me lifted up and in an ecstasy state. He's saying, no, the people who talk about nonsense, unlike us who are on topic, not the topic of the nonsense we're covering, but people who do actually cover the nonsense get many more views. We'd have 400 people now watching if we were talking about Bigfoot, I think is Neil's sentiment there, right, Neil? Also, shout out
Not
to
Bigfoot. Not Bigfoot. How to argue Earth being not a globe, but a different way. Not killing it like we do. Just beg the question the whole time, and you'll have 400 or 500 people watching you live.
Okay, if you say so. Shout out to Original D-Rose, who says, the videographer narrating Numpty is a brilliant, attention-thirsty, inviscerated liar. Exactly, Arwin, with a screwed-up face. This guy's spongy, soft, manicured hands couldn't handle the recoil of a firearm. My bad. I butchered that, but there we go. You often use words in a strange order, D-Rose. I'm going to blame you. Thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate it.
Anyone who has studied this stuff expects. Now, if we want to look for the Coriolis effect on Earth, because the force is so weak, we need...
Huh? Wrong. It's an illusion. Not weak or strong, it's an illusion. It's not happening.
Need to look at systems that are affected by it for much greater time periods.
Nothing's affected by it. It's an illusion you observe as you turn beneath. Learn what the Coriolis effect is.
Winds and ocean currents are great examples. And
what, are people often in winds and hurricanes and spinning around in a circle to make that circle the non-inertial turning reference frame? Because unless people are in the wind, observing things not turning with them in the wind, this is not going to be a good example.
And they behave exactly as one would expect. Winds blowing toward the equator veer off to the west, and winds blowing away.
What, like actually veering? It's an illusion, you stupid Dumbo. Coriolis is not an effect. Go on.
Nathan, could you rewind maybe 15 seconds, please? That'd be cool.
Could you have not waited till I finished my rant to ask me to rewind it?
Yeah, chocolate.
Yeah, chocolate. Yes,
yeah, chocolate.
Winds and ocean currents are great examples. And they behave exactly as one would expect. Winds blowing toward the equator veer off to the west, and winds blowing away from it veer off to the east.
Is that what you wanted?
Not really, but go ahead.
Causing the air stuck in between to begin to rotate clockwise on the southern hemisphere and counterclockwise on the northern hemisphere.
Hemi what now? Hemi what now? Go on, whoever that was.
But this is what I'm saying. They want to talk about spheres and stuff. Oh, gosh.
This isn't the Coriolis effect.
Nope.
Mortimer! Skeletor! This isn't the Coriolis effect. Hello, McFly! My word.
This is clearly visible in hurricanes. The Coriolis effect also sets the direction of the jet streams.
Wrong. It's an illusion.
Coriolis
How many...
causes. I'm sorry, Nathan. in effect, he's saying the Coriolis causes. No, it's the Coriolis effect, you idiot. Go ahead, Nathan. Sorry.
It's an illusion. It's not going to cause anything when it's a observable, not actual deviation. Meaning object tossed over roundabout travels in a straight line. But if you're observing it on the roundabout, a non-inertial turning reference frame, then you will see the ball, which travels straight, seem to drift as you turn beneath. You're describing how the forces affect winds. It's an illusion. You have no idea what the Coriolis effect is.
Simply put, when hot air blows north from the equator, it also expands due to its temperature, losing density and thus rising. Its motion away from the equator means that it will move toward the Earth's axis, resulting in an eastward Coriolis force.
It's an illusion. Keep saying it. Dumbo. Let's not forget
Can I ask you a question?
you can have
Is
Josh
it
share the
safe-
algorithmic love. So let this guy know. I don't want it to be forgotten that obviously we're sharing the algorithmic love, where he will get it directed to him by YouTube. So that if he was to respond, he would do the same for me, put a little link in his comments and pin it or something, so that he gets the same algorithmic benefit I am offering to him. So whizzing by on the live stream chat right now, if you are watching, and we've got a decent number of people watching, 116 people watching, brilliant stuff. Please go to his video and just leave him a comment that says @NathanOakley1980 sent me. We responded to your video. Maybe let him know you don't understand what Coriolis effect is, and don't want to be just detrimental to him as a complete idiot that doesn't understand what Coriolis effect is. We can pity him as stupid, but obviously, therefore, there's going to be a benefit when he comes here, and takes some time out from flushing toilets, because he can learn what Coriolis effect is. I can summarize it really quickly for him. Given how stupid he is, he needs it, and I'll do it for him now. Coriolis effect is the not actual deflection observed as you rotate beneath an inertial reference frame on a non-inertial turning reference frame. The illusion is the ball moving straight in the inertial reference frame seems to curve because you're turning beneath it. That's Coriolis effect. He keeps describing forces and how they affect things in motion. Nothing's being affected in motion because the thing in the Coriolis effect that's actually seeming to drift, the observable effect, is an illusion. Go ahead. Somebody who decided that they would not let that be concise. Thank you so much.
I thought you had. I thought you got there. I thought that was concise. That's why I spoke. So on screen, what you've just described is what he's describing is from the equator. If you look at those red lines, he's got gas particles in lockstepness with the rotating ground. But as they travel north at whatever speed, because while they're traveling north at whatever speed, they're also traveling sideways at 1,000 miles an hour. As they continue on their journey, they maintain that 1,000 mile an hour sideways movement, which is what causes that apparent deflection that we're seeing. But it's actually, again, a real deflection now because we've energized these things to be moving sideways at 1,000 miles an hour. So as it gets higher up in longitude, the rotational speed of everything else is slower. So it starts to go curve that way. That's what he's actually claiming, that these gas particles are not exhibiting gas behavior, or they are doing, but on top of that, they maintain their sideways tangential speed from their starting point, which is just, that's what he's claiming here, is what's doing this curving. He's invoking forces.
Yep, he's a retard.
Okay, I'm
Is
going to have a
it
go
safe
again.
to say that it's an optical phenomenon or an optical illusion?
Illusion. You can call it a
So
phenomenon
it's not
if
an
you want.
optical phenomenon.
You can call it a phenomenon because you are seeing something happen. The effect is apparent. In other words, you do see it occur. It is occurring as far as your vision is concerned. If you are on a non-inertial turning reference frame, observing something move through an inertial reference frame. A couple of quick shout-outs to D-Rose. Says, I'll try again. Given he's paying extra money, I'm going to not read it out in a sarcastic, all shouty caps. Nathan, with your glasses on this time. This videographer is a thirsty, attention-seeking, blatant liar. You are correct, Darwin. This guy's soft, manicured, spongy hands couldn't handle the recoil from a firearm. Boom! Nailed it. Thank you for the super chat.
Not a fire alarm.
Fire alarm.
Speaking of fire alarms and firearms, can you go to Master D for a minute?
I can. Another shout out to D Rose, who just corrected a typo, said Darwin. And also another shout out to Godzilla37, who says, "Hi, Nathan." Hi, Godzilla37. Waving at you. Although I'm not on camera. Yes, on screen now, 10th.
Okay, he said earlier, 1 kilometer, 1.25 seconds. It's only 9 centimeters. All right, well, here I'm reading, consider a 10-mile-per-hour wind that's fairly gentle, not enough to seem a problem. But by the time a 308 168 grain bullet has traveled just 400 yards, this moderate crosswind has pushed the bullet 13.6 inches. Enough that if you were aiming center chest, it's drifted completely off target. And recall, this is a gentle wind and the range at only 400 yards. So go to the next slide. 308 Winchester 168 grain. Trajectory 308 168 grain, 2,650 feet per second. Okay, 400 yards. He had 1 kilometer, which is 1,093.613 yards. This is less than half. Look at the speed of this bullet, and it was totally missed. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Great job.
A similar effect occurs further.
My panel are absolutely amazing. I'm not going to lie.
The 10's starting to do maths.
Yeah.
We want some attention, Nathan.
You're
Stop playing the
ace. You're
video
ace.
over us.
I'm telling you how ace you are. Which one?
North and south. The result is that at high altitude, you will find bands of strong winds blowing east with the Earth's rotation.
So, just the eastward winds? Got some airplanes on screen, QE.
Nah, it's just the Coriolis winds, right? The rest of it's it'll just stay right where it is because it's all negligible. But there are Coriolis winds, though.
Than from LA to New York. Flurfs will claim the Earth's rotation. This affects flight times. You'll notice that it takes an hour longer to travel from New York to LA than from LA to New York.
That's wrong.
Did he just pull
want chocolate. Everyone
out,
else shut up. Everyone else shut up. Just chocolate.
Did he just pull a planner walk? Who came here and told us how flights from the West Coast to the East Coast will actually be shorter than flights going the opposite way?
With the Earth's rotation. This affects flight times. You'll notice that it takes an hour longer to travel from New York to LA than from LA to New York.
Yep.
Oh,
he
really?
Let chocolate have this moment. Chocolate, go ahead.
Yeah. According to you guys, Globers, your ball is supposed to be rotating from the West Coast to the East, right? So if you get on a plane from New York to California, your flight should be a lot shorter if your ball is rotating underneath it. He, Mr. Glober, just told you it's longer that way.
With the Earth's
You guys don't
rotation.
see something
This
wrong with that?
affects flight times. You'll notice that it takes an hour longer to travel from New York to LA than from LA to New York.
Hasn't he got his
Go
ball
ahead, Adam.
going the wrong way?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Planner Wall came here and did the same thing like 5 years ago. And I caught him out there on that.
Balls that up, hasn't it?
He has balled that up completely.
So he's lost in Coriolis confusion.
They're
Yeah.
getting it from somewhere.
What a Dumbo. You know what? I think this is the perfect moment for a poem from One Deck. Go ahead, One Deck.
This one's called Misunderstood. I'm feeling misunderstood, and that's not good. People just don't get me. They never see the true me. They say I'm drifting and falling off track. But I don't see myself like that. My aim is to stay on the straight and narrow, forward thinking, never deviating. But in your mind and from your point of view, you think I'm actually drifting, and that's not true. It can be a lonely place in my reference frame of mind. People on the earth can be so unkind, observing and watching me as if they were blind. My name is Coriolis, and I'm misunderstood. People just don't get me, and that's not good.
Brilliant.
Bravo.
Excellent. Bravo. Thank you very much, One Deck.
Flurfs will claim that the Coriolis effect should result in the plane going from New York to LA should find LA being shot towards it, ignoring the plane's inertia and the fact that the atmosphere follows the Earth as it rotates.
I mean, you've just said the complete opposite of that. Why did you just declare the complete opposite then?
But of
I
course,
told you they got to go in every single direction in order to confuse anybody that's listening. Because now, look what he just said. That the atmosphere and the Earth are rotating together. You Globers are crazy.
Well, hang on. If the atmosphere and Earth are rotating together, okay, say at 800 miles per hour, and the plane's top speed is 600 miles per hour, what do we have now?
Plane going backwards when it takes off.
Yep, flying in reverse.
He's corrected himself there, hasn't he? But because his proofs he was wrong. The numbers are the wrong way around to support him, aren't they? And
But
made
why
that
would he leave
assumption
that
that
in
way, and now he's corrected his assumption this way. And
No. You missed what he said.
Why don't you leave it in there?
Hold on, Alvin. He's ascribed this to a misapprehension flat earthers have. Did you miss that bit, Adam?
Plane going from New York to LA should find LA being shot towards it, ignoring the plane's inertia and the fact that the atmosphere follows the Earth as it rotates. But of course, this simply isn't what anyone who understands the Coriolis effect expects.
So you don't...
Unlike you.
Unlike you.
Go back before that, because he states that the flights are different. Therefore,
Like
the difference
bands
is
of
because of
strong
Coriolis.
winds blowing east with the Earth's rotation. This affects flight times. You'll notice that it takes an hour longer to travel from New York to LA than from LA to New York. Flurfs will claim that the Coriolis effect should result in the plane going from New York to LA should find LA being shot towards it.
Wow, this guy's just murdering himself.
What? So he's completely reversing it. He's not just saying, "Oh, I'm just lost."
He's literally saying that you get on a plane in New York and fly to California. It takes an hour longer because Flurfs don't understand that the atmosphere is rotating with the Earth, even though the Earth is supposed to be rotating under the plane towards the east as the plane flies towards the west, and that should make the flight a lot shorter, but he just said it's longer. Way to go.
Okay, Chocolate, let's put it to the test. I want you to meet me halfway from Georgia to Idaho. You start, I start. Okay, what's going to happen?
We're going to have coffee?
Well, if I'm headed towards you and you're headed towards me, you only have to travel half the distance to see me, right?
Yeah, but how does that happen? Because the Earth is rotating underneath us.
Right, but if I'm Earth coming towards you instead of 10th man, you only have to go half the distance before you saw me. This whole thing is too much.
Exactly. What Tant's saying is if Coriolis effect is true, then as you take off in New York and leave the non-inertial turning reference frame, for the claim to be true that we have Coriolis effect, that would be the effect of a guy on the ground looking up at the plane going, "Oh wow, look at that plane, it looks like it's drifting." Okay, well that's the claim of Coriolis deflection. It's only observable from the ground. The consequences of a guy looking up at a plane going, "Look at that, it looks like it's drifting," is that Earth's turning underneath. The guy can only see that effect if he is turning underneath the plane. Well, that's going to shorten the flight from New York to LA. Now, this guy has said the flight from LA to New York is shorter, and Flurfs say that Coriolis effect would shorten the flight going to LA. Yeah, Coriolis effect, if we observed planes seeming to drift from the ground, would shorten flights from New York to LA, and they don't. It certainly wouldn't lengthen the flight, given that you claim the direction of spin would shorten it, and you've claimed the complete opposite, making you a certifiable idiot on all counts, not least the fact that you don't understand what Coriolis is. It's the illusion that would be claimed to be observed from the ground as Earth turns underneath these planes. That's what Coriolis actually is. He just doesn't understand that.
Right. And this is not like a live recording or anything, what he did. He recorded this and then thought, yeah, this is right.
Yeah, but that's the basic convolution, right? Because he's saying that, Fleurs think this is going to happen because of the Coriolis effect. And he's not even understanding it's not because of the Coriolis effect, it's because what you say causes the Coriolis, you idiot.
Precisely. The consequences are Earth turning underneath. The cause of the drift you would observe is Earth turning underneath. So if we're going to have this effect of Coriolis, it's going to be because Earth's turning underneath stuff. And it isn't. It's just that simple.
The plane's inertia and the fact that the atmosphere follows the Earth as it rotates.
What, the first and second law of thermodynamics violation, velcroed gas that's unbonded? Yeah, you need to go away and study gas behaviour. Yeah, show me gas bonded to anything, ever, given that its fundamental property is that it's unbonded. You stupid idiot. You have no idea how gas behaves. I think it velcros itself to rotating bodies and then continues to move at the same velocity as it increases its circumferential value, as it increases in height, violating the first law of thermodynamics. You're an idiot. Gas simply doesn't behave the way this stupid idiot who doesn't understand Coriolis describes. What a clown. Please share the show.
But of course, this simply isn't what anyone who understands the Coriolis effect expects.
I expect things to drift from my vantage point as I turn beneath them if they're tossed in a straight line over the top of me on a non-inertial turning reference frame, because I absolutely understand the Coriolis effect.
The Coriolis effect also affects a Foucault pendulum. A Foucault pendulum is a pendulum that's...
Jump onto the pendulum. If we could just go back to that picture of the plane on screen, I think he's going to move over, and I don't know if John's done the analogy, but that's it. This one on screen now. In his reality, if this is a north-south facing runway on the equator, that plane is coming in at me at, let's say, 300 miles an hour. But I and all the air that surrounds the plane, as whatever relative airspeed, is also moving at 1,000 miles an hour sideways, as the plane is trying to land. This is what he has to invoke in what he's saying. To not have this and to have, as he said, locksteppedness, these are the consequences of, where he's now denying gas behaviour. But, John, have you done the takeoff plug?
Kenneth actually did it already, but yeah.
Did he?
He did.
Yeah. So that's another consequence of this. Yeah, if it's north-south, this is how he's describing their motion from somebody watching that plane from space, put it from a second reference phase, because he's taken away. It's going sideways as well as coming in. That's how that plane is flying. It's farcical, the physics they have to invoke to keep this together. As you can do it with weather systems, because it's hard to visualize, but when you deal it with the plane, that's what's happening. And that plane is no different to every individual gas molecule. Done.
Very well done. Shout out to James Richards, who says, does this clown know the cause of the, quote, effect? Does he even know the effect? Exceptional good question, James Richard. Thank you very much for the super chat because it's so on topic. Kudos. The effect is the not actual deviation of a ball tossed over a roundabout. The cause of the not actual deflection in a ball that's actually travelling straight is you turning underneath it. Does he understand that? No. Does he invoke a load of garbage that isn't occurring? Yeah. Lots of consequences to the garbage also. Go ahead.
It's a good super chat, though, because the guy did just say the Coriolis effect causes other things.
Yeah.
Not understanding that's an effect, brother. Go ahead, Brian. What's up, brother?
Hey, Chocolate. How are you, bud? What I would say about it is two things. One, he either doesn't understand it, right, his own claim, or he does understand it, but he's trying to confuse people because he knows, even within his own claim, right, what we call globiolas. The flight from LA to New York can't be longer. You know what I mean? Within their own claim. But what I do is, as I said, I avoid all of that, and I just use a flight that's going directly north to south, which would be a flight from London to Accra, Ghana, London, UK to Accra, Ghana. Because within his claim, that flight, which is just over 3,000 miles in reality, has to be a 6,000-mile flight. Because London, when the plane leaves London, if it flies due south, it will not reach Ghana. It will only reach where Ghana was, right? 6 hours previous. 6.5 hours previous, whatever it is. To reach Ghana, it has to fly a completely different route. It has to fly out towards South Asia and fly double the distance, which is over 6,000 miles, to reach Ghana 6.5 hours later. Which means the plane would have to be going the commercial airliner would have to be going nearly 1,000 miles an hour to do that. Now, no, that doesn't happen. But that is his claim. And that's why I always stick with that one. Because that is directly within his claim that, and you're also, because the earth underneath also is rotating, has to be rotating within the north-south claim. They mess around with east-west and west-east. Sorry, Aaron, just 1 second. They mess around with west-east and east-west, right? They try and bring people into total non-reality there. But when it comes to north-south and south-north, that they can't mess with. Sorry, go on, Adam.
Just to put some numbers on that. So if we were to take off at, say, 45 degrees north, okay, within this paradigm that they've been building, when I take off and I head south, flying at 500 miles an hour, I'm flying at 500 miles an hour, but I'm also going sideways at 733. But as I go south, the place I'm heading for, Accra, Ghana, yeah, is traveling at 1,000 miles an hour sideways. So it's moving at a different speed. So when I get to Accra, Ghana, I'm still moving sideways at 733. Ghana's moving at 1,000 miles an hour, which is why I can't catch it up. Moving away. So there's differential, but those speeds are supposedly retained by as well, which is it just becomes farcical even when they try and invoke globiolis. You still can't catch it.
Of course, this simply isn't what anyone who understands the Coriolis effect expects. The Coriolis effect also affects a Foucault pendulum. A Foucault pendulum is a pendulum that's free to rotate, so that it might swing north-south at one point in time and east-west at a different time. If such a pendulum is affected by a force, it will of course change orientation.
Wrong, 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 wrong. No, the pendulum has one inherent property that's being utilised to make this example or claim, and that is that it swings only back and forth. Pendulums, unlike stupid idiots like Rumpus might declare, don't go in figure-of-8 motions. Its inherent property is that it swings back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Now, the Coriolis effect that's being claimed in this instance by the Foucault pendulum, that he again doesn't understand. He thinks that something's pushing the pendulum to cause it to actually deviate. No. It's claimed Earth turns underneath the fixed frame of the pendulum moving back and forth. So it's not the pendulum that drifts, It's claimed that Earth turns under the fixed frame of the pendulum that only swings back and forth. So again, because he doesn't understand what Coriolis effect is, he doesn't know how to explain Coriolis effect with the pendulum adhering to its very basic properties. He thinks pendulums drift. You stupid shit.
Is he going to try and conflate like applying, like when you apply torque to a gyro, it will resist? And is he saying this, that it's the torque of the rotating Earth applied to the top of the pivot point that acquires a sideways torque, which is what causes the actual now pendulum to move? And because that sounds where he's going, which is not what's always been claimed. That's one of the newer anti-flat earther descriptions.
Yeah, I'm glad you added that on the end. Yeah, while we could ponder the musings of a numpty dipshit named Martimer81, Foucault himself actually does detail what his pendulum's supposed to be proving. And shockingly, it's claimed to be proving 2 reference frames with Earth turning underneath. That's the claim. Again, he doesn't know what Coriolis is, does he? He's stupid. So he thinks pendulums drift. No, the property that they're utilising is the fact that they don't, that they only move back and forth, but this dipshit doesn't even understand how a pendulum works.
Yep.
115 people watching, please share the show.
We find that even when we eliminate things like wind by placing the pendulum indoors, if we let it swing for a long time, it will reorient itself by about 15 degrees per hour. Or if
reorientate itself? No. It can only swing back and forth. It's a pendulum. Go and type in pendulum to Google and learn what a pendulum does. Because this stupid globe-believing clown doesn't know what a pendulum does. That's how stupid he is. He's got the nerve and audacity to start telling us that we're stupid. And yet he literally doesn't even understand the most basic principle of a pendulum. Isn't that shocking?
He also used that word again. I'm sorry, Adam, go ahead.
That was only I was going to say, to be fair though, he's not done a rumpus and claimed it's doing a figure of 8.
Which I was hoping he
by effect, that is what he's claiming, actually, Adam. Quick shout out to Sensual Goat. He says, I'm trying to swing my pendulum to make it drift, but it's not long enough. Boo-hoo. Thanks for the super chat.
He also said that word again we talked about earlier. What did he say? Eliminate wind? What's wind again? What's that?
Well, according to him, it's something moving in lockstep anyway. So eliminate the thing that causes no variable and eliminates the second reference frame for Foucault's example. So you're going to eliminate that thing that only gave you 1 reference frame anyway. I see. Fascinating.
Yeah. That checks out. Yep.
Fundamentally stupid.
Or if you prefer, 0.04 degrees per second or 360 degrees in 24 hours.
A minute ago, it was negligible, but yet when Foucault makes an example that you don't understand because you think pendulums drift, because you're stupid, you go back to the assertion that it's 15 degrees an hour. It seems strange that we've got a very specific 15 degrees an hour that I detailed and objected to you earlier with, when Foucault's detailing it, with your misapprehension that pendulums drift because you're the numpty. Doesn't understand the pendulum.
Finally, of course, I have to mention the Flurf's supposed knockdown blow to the rotating Earth.
Sorry, is this going to be where you tell us what flat earthers say when it'll be a globe Earth claim? Let's see if I'm right.
The laser gyro. Yep, they went and bought themselves a laser gyro.
Themselves, so this is a stereotyping fallacy.
Yes.
Which, if the Earth rotates by 15 degrees per hour, should register a drift of 15 degrees per hour.
That's the claim that Foucault made. The one that you just detailed. And in terms of your globe Earth logical fallacy, that would be correct. I mean, it's still a logical fallacy. It's an affirming the consequent. But nevertheless, that is still
ring laser gyroscopes,
Jesus
by the way.
fucking
All
wet.
gyroscopes.
Jesus fucking wet. What the fuck? Yeah, this is Foucault Pendulum's claim that he got wrong because he didn't understand that pendulums move in a straight line. It's claimed that there's 2 reference frames, the ones he convoluted right at the beginning of the start of this video. So therefore, he's going to detail the exact same claim attached to an affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy and say that it isn't correct. No. According to your fallacious reasoning on a globe Earth, if Earth is turning, we'll observe 15 degrees an hour drift in a gyro, because Earth's claimed to be turning underneath. And what do you know? We don't ever see drift in gyros, otherwise it wouldn't be useful on aeroplanes to reference the horizontal and keep them level. So we don't see 15 degrees an hour drift in gyros, otherwise they wouldn't have a practical application on a plane.
The,
I'll win first.
Sorry, go on. Dave.
I'll win first, as I've just shouted and sworn at him. Sorry, I'll win.
Okay, well, I was just going to say, I didn't hear you when I was saying that. I thought that you quit the talking, but I was wrong apparently. But yeah, I mean, okay, so a ring laser gyroscope's supposed to drift? Well, how about all other gyroscopes? Like all of them? They should all be then drifting, wouldn't it? If the Earth was spinning.
If Earth's spinning, yeah. If Earth's spinning, then we would observe drift in gyros because it's in a separate, hold on a second, Euclidean three-dimensional reference frame from the Earth that's turning beneath it. Now, if the cage is attached to the ground, the gyro spins up, and according to the claim of Coriolis effect made by Foucault, with both pendulum and gyro, the pendulum swinging back and forth and only back and forth, numpty that doesn't understand gyros, yeah, you'll see the second reference frame drifting beneath. In other words, you, standing on the turning Earth, are claimed to see the pendulum seem to drift at 15 degrees an hour because you're claimed to turn beneath. Likewise, same principle with a gyro. If Earth's turning, then the gyro cage attached to the Earth will make you think the gyro itself is moving about the cage at 15 degrees an hour, moving its position with respect to the cage attached to Earth. That's the claim that the globe would have to demonstrate if we have Coriolis effect. Now, it isn't true. The principle employed by gyros is that they don't drift. We don't observe this drift, and when they do, because they're faulty, they get shelved. Okay, let's get that clear one last time. Gyros aren't drifting. They wouldn't be useful if they were. But this numpty and the globe Earth claim is that they do drift at 15 degrees an hour, and they must if Earth is turning to exhibit Coriolis drift, because the drift in the gyro is the not actual drift of the gyro because of the claim that we are turning beneath on a turning reference frame.
Results are...
Well, they're, sorry, Nathan.
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
As you know, I made a video recently about the ring laser gyro, attacking it, the nonsense around it. And I also put out a poll with several different questions. And I had yeses to all the questions from the ballers. And then I had Charles Flat Earth Math bringing me in a fourth question or option underneath in the comments. They don't have a unified claim concerning this nonsense. There's a 30-year aerospace engineer guy who's been arguing with me, and he tries to claim that the gyro will exhibit a 15 degree per hour drift on the Earth, right? But not in the airplane, right? Now, the reason he has to say it, he's smart enough to know to say it's not happening in the airplane. He thinks he's being smart, but he's also being stupid. He has to say it's not showing the drift in the airplane because the airplane can't have a drifting gyro, right? So he thinks he's being smart. But he's also claiming that the airplane is flying through what they call an atmosphere that is also rotating at 15 degrees per hour. Right? So how does the gyro not pick up the drift in the airplane if it's supposed to be picking up the drift on the ground if the air if the Earth that the gyro is flying over, all the air atmosphere, I have to use the word atmosphere, if their atmosphere is moving at 15 degrees per hour, just like they're out in lockstep, how can the gyro not pick it up?
It can't. They've got a single reference frame then. It's absolutely stupid. Eliminating the cause of the effect that they're claiming, in this instance Coriolis, by eliminating one of the two reference frames. Absurd. Let's just hear what he's got to say, though. He's using...
May I? I was waiting.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So the gyro is set on the ground for about 30 minutes before takeoff. Then it gets in the air, and the air and the ground are supposed to be moving at the same. So that settles that argument there. He said final blow. Final blow. You know where this is going. It's going to be a thanks Bob thing. So just be ready.
What we found is when we turned on that gyroscope, we found that we were picking up a drift, a 15 degree per hour drift.
Interesting.
Yes. Interesting indeed.
So Earth's turning underneath the gyro at 15 degrees an hour, inferring that they are two separate reference frames. Ergo, flight times would be shortened, and we'd see things drifting away from us at 15 degrees an hour. And a drone on the equator would drift away at 15 degrees an hour, which is 1,000 miles an hour of a drone drifting away from you. Because according to this claim he's just made right at the end, after relinquishing the second reference frame and pointing out how they are as one, in a sealed system with velcroed air, violating natural law, just beggars belief.
Fantastic switcheroo. He's done. We started with Coriolis. We went into Globiolis. He's come back to Coriolis with pendulums and Bob's gyro. Recognize the switcheroo. It's a shit sandwich.
What did they do with faulty gyros, Nathan? What did they do with faulty gyros?
Put them on the shelf. But according to this guy, and using Bob as an example, he's saying Earth turns underneath the gyro at 15 degrees an hour, translatable to 1,000 miles an hour at the equator. Well, that means that as soon as you jump up and down, Earth's going to turn underneath you at 1,000 miles an hour because they're two separate reference frames. The very two reference frames that he tried to convolute into one with Globiolis effect. Yeah, not successful, mate. Nice try. That's why your video is so long. I'll just say this one last thing. This video is over 14 minutes long from this Globe dickhead. Well, the claim that Globe has is that we experience Coriolis effect. That would be Earth turning underneath an inertial reference frame, and the drift we seem to experience in a projectile travelling straight because we turn underneath. You can also attribute that claim to both Foucault pendulum and gyro, which is to say, the pendulum or gyro moves in its own reference frame. That would be inertial reference frame. So the gyro spinning is going to stay spinning in fixed space in the inertial reference frame. The gyro's cage, attached to the ground, claimed to be turning at 15 degrees an hour, will show the deviation of the fixed spinning gyro versus the cage at a rate of 15 degrees an hour because Earth is turning underneath it. That's what Bob is claimed to have proven. Ergo, we've got a second reference frame turning underneath. That would shorten flight times. If Earth's turning underneath at 15 degrees an hour, then we'd notice. Everything that left the ground, hot air balloons, aeroplanes, drones, helicopters, you, if you jump up and down, would drift at 15 degrees an hour. That's 1,000 miles an hour of noticeable deviation for the guy standing on the ground watching his mate fly away at 1,000 miles an hour when he does hopscotch. That's what this effect is. Now, given that he, like I say, or whoever it was, Adam or QE that just summarised, he spent the majority of this video taking you from the effect of two reference frames to the effect of one reference frame with first and second law of thermodynamics violation, velcroed Earth to the spinning, also spinning atmosphere, sphere-shaped air assumption, back to two reference frames proven by Bob, and everything in between thrown in for good measure. Now, it's taken a hell of a long time to unpack this, why it's one of the least favourite subjects, but given that we've currently got nearly 120 people still watching, thank you so much to everyone who shared, and we're coming up on a nearly 3-hour show. It's going to be a 4-hour after show, that's for sure. Yeah, I can summarise what he's convoluted for the 15 or so minute video that he's produced in about 30 seconds. Coriolis is the effect of not actual deviation observed from a turning reference frame in the inertial reference frame. Ball tossed straight over roundabout seems to drift because you turn beneath it. There's me summarising it in seconds, because it's not complicated. It needs to be made complicated because that effect of a plane seeming to drift because Earth is turning underneath it doesn't happen. The effect of drone seems to drift away at 1,000 miles an hour because you're turning beneath it does not happen. And as a result, you end up with 14 minutes of convoluted, complete nonsense with a total misapprehension about what Coriolis is and a defiance of what it is for the majority of the video, only to reference how it's got 2 reference frames using a flat earther at the end. Well, you don't need any of this nonsense. That's why it takes almost 3 hours to unpack Coriolis, because you've got to throw everything at the kitchen sink at it, if you're a globe believer, to try and get away from the fact that we don't see Earth turning underneath anything. Coriolis is simple, and if people understood how simple it is, they'd recognise immediately that it means that we'd have to be turning underneath stuff in the air, like planes and helicopters and hot air balloons, and we're not. So because it would be really easy for everyone to recognise that Earth isn't turning and there is no drift, they have to turn it into a 14-minute video for something that takes 30 seconds to explain. So that everybody watching his video, Martimer video, like I say, let him know Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. He needs to confuse everybody watching with a little journey between Globiolus and Coriolis and back again, so that you don't understand what's going on at the end of it. Well, we do, and we will spend the time, especially when we're all in good humour, to pull it apart at every single stage, and then point out how stupid you are at the points that you relinquish second reference frames and so on. We'll just listen to the end of his video, but hopefully people come back after they've gone and let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me the links going by in his chat. Let Martimer know. We've corrected him. We've took the time, and we do understand these effects to point out how they're not occurring on a globe Earth that's claimed to be turning and would induce drift if it was turning, and it doesn't. Nobody's seeing any drift. Nothing's drifting away 1,000 miles an hour on the equator. But we'll get the last few
Yet
seconds.
another way we can see that the Earth is not just a ball, but a spinning ball. And this remains true no matter how much reality deniers whine about it. See ya.
Yeah. Bye-bye, dickhead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Brian.
Nathan. Yeah. The cheek of him calling us reality denier.
Hold on, everybody but Brian. I know you're keen. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah. About the hashtag thanks Bob thing. What these people don't realise, and this was the point of my video, I made it just after Bob died. This is the point of my video, and another video to come, is that hashtag thanks Bob is ours to use against them, not the other way around. Because exactly as you stated, it requires 2 reference frames, right? So if the gyro, the ring laser gyro, is picking up a 15-degree, just going off their claim, right? There was no evidence that this ever produced, really. But if the gyro was picking up a 15-degree per hour drift while sitting on the surface of Earth, right? If it was doing that, that would mean that it's picking up 15 degrees per hour of something. So when you take off or lift up, let's say you go straight up in the air in a helicopter with that gyro, right? If it's not picking up the 15-degree per hour drift, or if it is picking up a 15-degree per hour drift, it has nothing to do with the surface of the Earth down below. If you look into what they're actually claiming, right, what they're claiming especially concerning Bob, destroys their own claim. Because if the Earth was rotating, right, if they were picking up a 15-degree per hour drift and it was the Earth, when you go straight up in the air, then the Earth has to move underneath you. If the gyro was picking up a 15-degree per hour drift as it lifts up and it goes up into the air and it's not attached to the Earth, then it has nothing to do with the Earth. So both ways, it destroys them. And actually, what their actual claim is, I say actual because they have several, they don't actually agree on any of this, but from a 30-year aerospace engineer, he claimed that the gyro picks up the drift while on the Earth, but not when it's in an airplane because the airplane is not attached to the Earth. So that means it's not the Earth rotating within their own claim. You understand? It can't be.
Yeah.
Within their own claim. So hashtag thanks Bob is ours, not theirs. Like everything else belongs to us.
Yeah, good point, Brian. Nathan, you do know this is a 7-part series. He's gone to the woodshed on our show twice in a row. I think it's going to be 7 in a row woodshed with this guy.
I don't think we have to do all 7. I think it's really painful up to this point. I would like him to do the last one, though, or the first one that I gave you. The one on 1 second. It is gravity and density. That should be our next one, and then just finish up with that. Okay.
All right, I'll post it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that. But with that, I am going to say to the live audience, at least, a massive, huge, enormous thank you for smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, gifting memberships, hitting the PayPal link, and all that good stuff. If you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Of course, a massive thank you to today's Discord, G+, and Matrix panel for making today's live show possible. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on an after show. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
Welcome back, sir.
I thought the point with Akragana, what was it? London to Akragana flight?
I'm mad at you.
Sorry, do you mind not interrupting the audio chaos caused by QE and the other?
Yeah, that, and then what Adam added to it. I mean, it's just crazy to how people can hear your argument there, see it demonstrated on a piece of paper, and still claim that the Earth is spinning.
Well, the thing about that is someone like your man Mortimer or any of them, they can't argue against it. There has to be an actual deviation for that flight. That's the thing about it. Well, you can't mess around with things. It has to be what it has to be within their claim. You know?
Yeah, it has to be, and he set himself up for it when he talked about the bullet being fired, because it's negligible the way he did it. But then when I showed the actual numbers for bullets, it's not negligible. But imagine if he's saying it happens to a bullet and he did his numbers, obviously, you just said, well, let me just use an airplane, pretend the airplane's the bullet. It's over.
Except it's worse than that. I mean, he's talking about bloody Coriolis and Earth spin. He's going to need half of that, remember?
Of course. Well, just before the point gets lost, I just want to clarify what I meant at the end of the live show about the hashtag thanks, Bob. The logical conclusion is this. Within their claim, if the ring laser gyro is picking up a 15 degree per hour drift, right, while sitting on the Earth's surface, right, and if it rises up directly up in the air, right, and it's picking up a 15 degree per hour drift, then it can't be picking up the rotation of the Earth underneath it, because that is not rotating underneath the airplane. So straight away that invalidates it's the Earth rotating underneath it, right? Or as it invalidates the Earth being moving at 15 degrees per hour. If the ring laser gyro was picking up a 15 degree per hour drift while sitting on the Earth within their plane, and it rises up, right, straight up in the air in a helicopter or something, and it stops picking up that 15 degree per hour drift, then that also invalidates that it's the Earth rotating, because the drift it was picking up was happening while it was sitting on the Earth. But when it rises up, it stops picking up the drift, and the Earth is still not rotating underneath it. So no matter what way they twist or turn it, the logical conclusion is it's disproving, hashtag thanks Bob, it disproves their own claim. I'm not saying that it's actually a real thing that actually happens, because I know it's not a real thing that actually happens. But that doesn't matter. It's within their claim concerning the ring laser gyro. Whether they say the gyro is picking up the drift when it's in a helicopter above the Earth and on the Earth, or it's only picking up the drift while on the Earth, it doesn't matter, because both times it shows that the Earth is not the rotating reference frame. So hashtag thanks Bob is ours, not theirs. That's the point.
Oh. We good with that?
Yeah. Doesn't matter which way it gets diced, it's going to leave them screwed. So the only way they can even get a draw is by convoluting the effect, calling it a cause, and then confusing their audience, so that the audience doesn't fully understand what could take 30 seconds to explain after a 14-minute video. But it seems like the guy was intellectual and knew what he was talking about, put a lot of diagrams on, talked a lot about pseudo-forces and actual forces, and convoluted them a lot. So, as an audience member, you're going to be left scratching your head. That's the whole point. That's all they can do. Confuse.
That was my whole point before, which is why they have to go in every single direction in order to confuse people. Because if this was an actual thing that was happening, you could just make this a 2-minute video. Define what the Coriolis effect is, and then just show it.
Which is why,
and that would be it.
Yeah,
which is why I said right at the beginning, like from when I worked out how this was being convoluted, in my head, it's if you can't persuade them, confuse the shit out of them, because that is what they do.
I haven't watched the like I said, I haven't watched his videos, but I'd suggest, Anthony, that you be here tomorrow. I have a sneaking suspicion with the title of tomorrow's video that you might be interested.
Tell me, what is the title?
Gravity and density.
Do you know what? I've realized that there's a brilliant, like we have the fallacy called the false equivalence. Well, whatever the opposite is, where it's a legitimate equivalence, like an equivalence, in the same way that like Newton and all the believers ascribed an attribute to an object and said that the object was being acted on by a force. They made the same mistake with phlogiston, right? They ascribed combustible materials with an element called phlogiston, in the sense that they said that all like combustible materials contained phlogiston. They were ascribing an attribute to the thing in question. So, like the pillow will set on fire because it's got phlogiston in it. But they didn't realize that it was actually the medium around the pillow, the oxygen that burns, that allows the burning process to happen, the combustion to happen. So it wasn't an attribute of the object, it was an attribute of the medium. In the same way, Newtonian like delusionists think that there's an attribute ascribed to the object in question, like the egg is being pulled on by a force, not realizing that it's the attribute of the medium that's acting on it. In the same way that phlogiston, it was the medium around the combustible material that was acting on the pillow that caused it to burn. Like it's the same fallacy, it's the same problem. They're looking in the wrong place for the wrong answer, and they're coming out with a sum, and they're going, there you go, proven. I realize that the phlogiston arguments are perfect equivalents. Discuss. It's brilliant.
Alrighty, that is going to be where I round out the after show then. With that, another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels, together with Matrix, for making today's after show, pre-show, and live show possible. Of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams. Hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!